welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of viewers aren't subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it's an enormous support for us to keep creating these relaxing stories. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. In the hushed tranquility of a misty morning, the gentle rustling of leaves whispered secrets to the cool air as I prepared for my hike. Decades of wilderness wandering had instilled in me a deep reverence for meticulous preparation. My trusty backpack, weathered from countless journeys, held all the essentials: compass, maps, first aid kit, water, and provisions for days. Though my plan was just a simple day hike through familiar terrain, the forest beckoned me with its ancient embrace. The morning light danced through the canopy, casting enchanting patterns on the mossy forest floor. As I ventured deeper into the woods, a subtle shift in the atmosphere caught my attention. The usual symphony of bird songs had faded, replaced by an eerie stillness. My experienced eye noted the odd behavior of my compass, its needle swaying unpredictably. The mist enveloped the trees like a soft embrace, concealing familiar landmarks and casting a dreamlike quality over the surroundings. Despite the disorientation, a strange sense of peace settled within me, cushioned by the sound of my own muffled footsteps on the carpet of fallen leaves. Following an inexplicable instinct, I traced the source of a metallic scent that hung in the air, drawing me towards a hidden clearing. In the heart of this secluded glade stood a surreal sight, a concrete structure reclaimed by nature with vines embracing its weathered walls and moss carpeting its roof. The door beckoned slightly ajar, its surface marked by faded warnings of a forgotten past. With a touch, the door swung open effortlessly, revealing a darkness that seemed to pulse with a mysterious breath. Venturing into the depths of the structure, I found myself in a realm frozen in time. Soft blue emergency lights bathed the corridors in an otherworldly glow, casting shadows that danced in silent rhythms. Dust-covered computer terminals whispered of bygone activities, their screens flickering to life as I passed by. Words and symbols danced across the screens in cryptic patterns, hinting at knowledge beyond my comprehension. In a central chamber, scattered journals and diagrams hinted at a world of scientific exploration beyond imagination. Words like quantum displacement and temporal variance sparked a flicker of recognition within me. The air hummed with a subtle energy, drawing me deeper into a realm where time seemed to ebb and flow like a gentle stream. Specimen containers held botanical wonders of unearthly hues, their vibrant colors defying natural laws. Research notes spoke of a hidden intelligence within the forest, a web of connections that transcended ordinary understanding. Maps adorned the walls, depicting intricate energy patterns that pulsed with a life of their own. As I delved further into the mysteries of the facility, a sense of reverence overcame me. The forest revealed itself as a living, breathing entity, pulsating with a wisdom that transcended human knowledge. The facility's secrets whispered to me in a language as ancient as time itself, weaving a tapestry of interconnected truths that resonated with my very soul. Emerging from the enigmatic depths of the structure, I found my way back to the forest with an uncanny ease, guided by an unseen hand. The night was alive with whispers of forgotten lore, and the trees stood sentinel, their branches swaying in silent acknowledgement of my passing. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet the memory of that fateful encounter lingered like a haunting melody in my mind. The forest, once familiar, now bore the imprint of mysteries beyond comprehension. My compass quivered under the gaze of full moons, and the moss whispered secrets in a language only I could understand. With each hike, I carried a journal to capture the fleeting glimpses of hidden truths that danced at the edges of my perception. The forest, once a backdrop to my adventures, now held me in its embrace, whispering of ancient secrets that lay just beyond reach. And so, as the world slumbered under a blanket of stars, I wandered the shadowed paths with a heart full of wonder. The mysteries of the forest had become my solace, a source of solace in a world fraught with uncertainty. In the silence of the night, I listened to the ancient wisdom that echoed through the trees, knowing that the unknown was not to be feared, but to be embraced with open arms. Story 2. The rain whispered softly against the worn metal roof of the forsaken industrial complex, creating a gentle cadence that seemed to breathe life into the entire structure. Standing at the entrance, my flashlight pierced the evening mist, illuminating droplets as they traced intricate patterns down the grimy windows. The scent of damp concrete and rusted metal enveloped me, offering a strangely soothing embrace in its industrial embrace. I had always been drawn to neglected places, where the echoes of the past whispered through the decay. This particular complex had captivated me during my twilight strolls, a sprawling monument to a bygone era of industry, its skeletal frame stretching towards the obscured sky. The security fence had long surrendered to nature, forming an open invitation that beckoned explorers like myself. The entrance door yielded with a soft groan, its hinges protesting years of neglect. The sound reverberated through the cavernous expanse before fading into the darkness. My footsteps whispered against the concrete floor, accompanied by the gentle patter of rain seeping through cracks in the roof. Puddles formed in shallow depressions, creating mirror-like pools that reflected my light in enigmatic designs. As I ventured deeper into the building, I noticed a peculiar detail about the dust patterns on the floor. While most areas were cloaked in a thick layer of undisturbed grime, certain paths appeared cleaner, as if recently traversed. My unwavering curiosity, always by my side on these solitary escapades, urged me forward along these subtle trails. The air grew denser as I neared what seemed to be an old processing area. Enormous machinery loomed in the shadows, their shapes distorted by time and darkness into abstract forms. A faint chemical aroma, out of place in this abandoned setting, teased my senses. It was subtle yet unmistakable, a sharp, artificial scent amidst the expected musty decay. My light caught a glint in a corner, small plastic bags scattered near a modern-looking table that starkly contrasted its deteriorating surroundings. The table's surface revealed traces of white powder, and nearby, a digital scale lay partially concealed beneath old newspapers. My heart maintained its steady beat, but my thoughts raced with realization. This forgotten space had found a new purpose in the hands of those who preferred to dwell in shadows. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness, each droplet marking time like a liquid metronome. The sound seemed to intensify as I stood there, pondering my discovery. A gentle breeze whispered through broken windows, carrying with it the sweet scent of rain-soaked earth. The building groaned and settled around me, its metallic frame contracting in the cooling night air. Venturing further into the complex, I uncovered more evidence of current occupation: fresh tire tracks in the dust, modern padlocks on certain doors, and small generators tucked away in corners. Each revelation added another layer to the unfolding narrative before me. The juxtaposition between decay and signs of life created an eerie harmony. In what must have once been an office area, I stumbled upon a room that appeared to function as a monitoring station. Outdated security cameras, long dormant, had been replaced with newer models. Their red recording lights blinked slowly in the darkness, resembling mechanical heartbeats. On a desk beneath them, an open logbook was filled with cryptic numbers and timestamps. Outside, the rain intensified, transitioning from a gentle patter to a more insistent drumming against the metal roof. Water cascaded through gaps in the ceiling, forming miniature waterfalls that caught and scattered my light. The sound masked my movements through the space, prompting me to wonder if it also concealed the approach of others. In a distant corner of the complex, I stumbled upon what seemed to be a cleared loading dock. Fresh tire tracks led to and from the area, vanishing into the rainy night beyond. Nearby, discarded coffee cups and food wrappers hinted at individuals spending prolonged hours waiting. Waiting for what, or whom, was left to the imagination. Time seemed to warp within this place, measured solely by the steady drum of rain and the occasional distant rumble of thunder. I had been there for what felt like hours, or perhaps mere minutes. The darkness and constant rainfall made it challenging to discern. My flashlight beam captured movement in the distance, only to reveal my own reflection in a rain-streaked window, distorted and enigmatic. As I retraced my steps towards the entrance, I noticed something overlooked before. Concealed behind a partially collapsed wall, a small office contained a modern laptop, its screen casting a pale blue glow into the shadows. Displayed on the screen was a shipping manifest, with endless lists of numbers and dates scrolling by. I committed what I could to memory, sensing its potential importance later on. As I neared the exit, the rain began to taper off, reverting to its earlier gentle rhythm. My flashlight illuminated a new discovery. Fresh footprints in the dust, pointing inward, their outlines sharp and distinct. They had not been there upon my arrival. This realization did not evoke panic or fear, but rather a serene understanding that it was time to depart. Slipping back through the gap in the fence, the cold, wet metal pressed against my palm. Behind me, the complex loomed in silence and darkness, its secrets now shared with an uninvited observer. The rain continued its tranquil percussion, washing away any remnants of my presence. In the subsequent days, my thoughts often lingered on that night, contemplating the dual nature of that decaying place, its exterior abandoned and forgotten, while beneath the surface a clandestine pulse of activity thrived. Occasionally, when the rain fell at night, I found myself drawn to my window, observing water carve paths in the darkness, recalling the mysteries whispered by rusted metal and crumbled concrete. I never revisited the industrial complex, yet I knew my encounter there had altered something fundamental in its rhythm. Perhaps my intrusion was noted in logbooks or captured by those blinking red eyes. Perhaps the operation persisted, undisturbed by my brief intrusion into its realm. However, in my mind, that night remained vivid, a moment when the boundary between abandonment and purpose, between past and present, blurred like the rain descending from the somber sky. The memory of that night persisted, carried on the fragrance of rain and rusty metal, in the sound of water drumming on distant rooftops, in the dance of shadows through shattered windows. It served as a reminder that beneath the surface of forgotten places, new narratives awaited discovery by those willing to delve deeper, listen more intently, and step through the gaps in fences that divide the known world from the shadowed realm. Story 3. The soft patter of rain against metal created a calming cadence as I stood in front of the deserted factory. Moonlight seeped through breaks in the clouds, casting silver streaks across puddles that had gathered in the fractured pavement. The air carried the earthy scent of petrichor, intermingled with hints of rust and weathered concrete. That night I was not alone. My childhood companions Marcus and Sarah stood by my side, our breaths forming wispy clouds in the cool evening air. We had shared countless adventures growing up, but there was something different about this place compared to our usual escapades. The factory's aged facade loomed ahead, its windows reflecting the moonlight like distant celestial bodies. Do you remember when we used to wonder about this place? Sarah's voice barely rose above the rainfall, carrying with it the weight of memories. Summers spent crafting intricate tales about the enigmatic building that had remained empty since before our time. The entrance door yielded easily, its hinges whispering instead of creaking. As we crossed the threshold, the sound of rain dulled, and our footsteps echoed softly on the worn concrete floors. Surprisingly, the space exuded a warmth, as if the structure had been expecting visitors. Marcus flicked on his flashlight, casting a soft glow that revealed dancing dust motes, creating ethereal patterns in the air. Ahead of us stretched the factory floor, housing silent machinery draped in shadows. Time had softened every surface, cloaking them in a velvety layer of dust that shimmered in our light. Progressing further into the building, I noticed something peculiar. Despite years of neglect, there were areas where the dust appeared disturbed, as if someone or something had passed through recently. These were not footprints, but rather subtle disruptions in the settled dust. "Look at this," I murmured, directing my friend's attention to a control panel near a large machine. Unlike everything else in the factory, its surface was clean, almost polished. The buttons and dials gleamed as if recently touched. Sarah ran her finger along the edge, revealing no additional dust. "It's warm," she remarked, her voice filled with wonder rather than fear. The three of us exchanged silent glances, each lost in contemplation. The further we delved, the more anomalies we unearthed. Machinery that should have been silent seemed to hold a faint vibration. The air grew warmer, carrying an electric charge that made the hairs on our arms stand on end. Yet there was no sense of menace, only a peculiar comfort in these inexplicable details. In what seemed to be an old office space, we found stacks of papers that appeared simultaneously ancient and fresh. The text seemed to shift when looked at directly, becoming clearer in our peripheral vision. I caught glimpses of intricate diagrams and equations defying conventional physics. Marcus picked up one paper, studying it intently. "These formulas," he murmured, his voice filled with awe, "they describe the impossible. It's as if they are calculations for bending reality itself." A gentle hum began to fill the air, so delicate it could have been imagined. The sound seemed to resonate within us, evoking a feeling of peaceful awareness. The darkness around us took on a new texture, as if possessing depth. We stumbled upon a door leading to a sub-level, marked with symbols that seemed to shift when not gazed upon directly. The stairs beyond were bathed in an ambient light with no discernible source. With each step downward, the origin of the humming drew closer. The basement opened into a vast chamber that defied the external dimensions of the building. Rows of enigmatic machines lined the walls, quietly operational despite the factory's abandonment. At the center stood a device unlike anything we had ever seen. A structure of interconnected rings and spheres appearing to spin without moving. "I think I understand now," Sarah breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "This isn't merely a factory. It's a nexus point, a place where reality diverges." Her words resonated with truth, elucidating the inexplicable sensations we had been encountering. The central device pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light synchronized with our heartbeats. As we observed, the air seemed to fold and unfold around it, revealing glimpses of other realms, times, and possibilities. Yet it felt natural, as though we were witnessing something that had always existed in our world, merely concealed. We spent hours exploring the chamber, discovering control stations responsive to thought rather than touch. Each revelation added a new layer to the mystery, instilling in us not fear, but a profound sense of tranquility. The factory had chosen to disclose its secrets to us, and we comprehended that this knowledge bore responsibility. As the night waned, we ascended to the surface. The rain had ceased, and the first light of dawn kissed the horizon. The factory's exterior remained unchanged, but we knew it would never appear ordinary to us again. "We should keep this to ourselves," Marcus proposed, and Sarah and I nodded in accord. Some enigmas are meant to be safeguarded, their marvels shielded from those who might not grasp their true significance. Years later, I often return to the factory alone. The machines continue their silent labor, maintaining equilibrium in ways I am still unraveling. On quiet nights, When the moon shines bright and the air is still, I sit amidst the mysterious devices and listen to their gentle hum. The factory's enigma remains secure with us, serving as a reminder that reality harbors more wonder than we can fathom. In those serene moments, surrounded by machinery defying explanation, I feel most serene. The mystery of the factory has become intertwined with my being, a gentle nudge that some questions are better left unanswered, their solutions nestled in the soft shadows of possibility. Story 4. The night shift always starts the same way. I arrive at the old manor as dusk settles, painting the sky in deep purples and blues. Tonight, raindrops tap gently against the windows, creating a soothing rhythm that echoes through the empty halls. The air carries the rich scent of wet earth and autumn leaves. My flashlight beam dances on the wooden panels, whispering floorboards beneath my feet. I've walked these halls for 3 years, but tonight feels different. Shadows linger longer, rains patter like distant whispers. In the grand library, leather-bound books gleam in the dim light, the old clock measuring time with a steady heartbeat. I settle into my favorite armchair, its worn leather creaking softly. The first unusual occurrence happens subtly. A shadow slides across the wall, deeper than darkness, moving deliberately. It disappears when my flashlight hits it, leaving only light and shadow. The temperature drops, a cool pocket of air following me. Changes in my environment become apparent as the night progresses. Books sit at angles, the clock's ticking echoing differently, and the deeper shadow moves like a gentle current. The portrait of the manor's owner has shifted, then returned without a sound. The rain follows a pattern, like a forgotten language. The shadow reflects in the banister, vaguely human but impossibly tall. In the east wing, a room feels wrong, the shadow leading me there. It pulses in the corner, darker than natural light absence. The rain's rhythm changes, and I realize the shadow has always been there. As dawn nears, the shadow fades into the natural shadows of the house. The temperature returns to normal. The rain's cadence loses its mystery. As I drive home, I look forward to my next shift. The shadow and I are guardians of the manor. Each night, we share our vigil in silence, 2 watchers in the dark. We acknowledge each other's presence, maintaining our watch over the sleeping house. I feel a connection to something ancient and patient. Some mysteries are meant to be experienced and appreciated in their own quiet way. Story 5. As I reflect on that unforgettable night in the wilderness, a sense of tranquility washes over me, surprising even myself. Years have passed, yet the memory remains vivid, like a distant dream painted with the silver strokes of moonlight on the forest floor. Our small group of 5 friends had ventured deep into the dense forest, following ancient trails on a journey we had never embarked upon before. The air was laced with the sweet aroma of pine needles and wild mint, while gentle breezes whispered secrets through the towering canopy above. It all began so subtly, blending into the natural rhythm of the forest. I tended to the crackling campfire, entranced by the flickering flames, while Morgan prepared dinner. Alex checked our supplies, and the twins, Sarah and James, set up the final tent. A sudden snap of a branch pierced the nighttime stillness beyond our camp, causing a shiver to run down my spine. Nature's symphony of sounds momentarily ceased, creating an eerie hush. The forest held its breath, signaling a presence approaching. The faint crunch of footsteps on dried leaves, calculated and deliberate, echoing in the darkness. With a shared glance, Morgan and I acknowledged the unease that gripped us. The night had turned ominously quiet, devoid of its usual nocturnal chorus. The twins, too, had sensed the shift in atmosphere, melting into the shadows cast by the trees. Alex, ever vigilant, stood by the supplies, his hand subtly moving towards a hidden object. We were children of the forest, attuned to its whispers and shadows, knowing how to blend seamlessly into its tapestry. Under the gentle glow of the moon, dark figures emerged among the trees, each carrying a long object that gleamed in the dim light. rifles. 5 intruders encircled our camp, their presence ominous yet strangely serene. A calm descended upon me, a surreal detachment from the impending danger. Every sound, every rustle of leaves became amplified in the silence that enveloped us. Morgan had vanished into the underbrush, leaving the pot to simmer over the fire. A clever ruse to maintain the illusion of normalcy. The twins positioned themselves strategically behind trees, barely visible in the shadows. Time slowed to a languid pace, thick as honey, as we observed the intruders drawing closer to our deserted campsite. With military precision, they approached, expecting to find us within their grasp. Instead, they encountered empty chairs and a meal left unattended. Confusion etched their faces as they exchanged uncertain glances, unaware that we had already slipped away, melting into the night like phantoms. A familiar whistle pierced the silence, a signal of unity among us, not for attack but for escape. Born of years spent navigating these woods, we moved as one, fluid and silent, evading our pursuers effortlessly. The forest itself seemed to conspire in our favor, guiding our steps with moonlit pathways and concealing our presence with rustling leaves. Through the velvety darkness, we eluded our would-be captors, weaving through the labyrinth of trees and streams with practiced ease. Hours melded into one continuous dance of evasion, as we circled back, split up, and reunited along hidden trails. The moon, a silent witness above, illuminated our path while the wind muffled our footsteps. At dawn, we emerged from the forest near a ranger station, exhausted yet unscathed. The authorities later revealed that we had unknowingly crossed paths with armed smugglers, narrowly escaping a potentially deadly encounter. But what lingers most profoundly is not the peril we faced, but the harmonious unity of 5 souls moving in perfect synchrony through the night. The memory of that night, of shadows and moonlight guiding our steps, remains a testament to the delicate art of survival. It changed us, bound us together in ways words cannot capture. We still seek solace in the wilderness, finding peace in the embrace of nature's quietude. And as night descends and the forest comes alive with whispers, we share knowing smiles, for we have danced with shadows and found grace in chaos. In those tranquil moments, I am reminded of the beauty in adversity, of the profound peace that can emerge from the depths of turmoil. True strength, I have learned, lies not in confrontation, but in the exquisite dance we performed that fateful night, a dance of shadows, guided by moonlight, where survival itself became a masterpiece of artistry and trust. Story 6. In the heart of the night, a tale unfolds of a forgotten place steeped in mystery and danger. It began with a group of friends drawn to an abandoned factory, its weathered walls standing as silent sentinels to the passage of time. The air hung heavy with anticipation, an electric charge that sparked curiosity within their souls. As they gathered near the rusty gates, the rain whispered its ancient secrets, a gentle rhythm that masked the sound of their hushed voices. Sarah, Mike, Jason, companions in exploration and adventure, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like beacons in the night. Together, they ventured into the depths of the industrial complex, each step echoing softly through the empty spaces where machines once roared with life. Decades of neglect lay scattered at their feet, broken glass, faded papers, the remnants of a bygone era. But there was something more, a sharp tang in the air that hinted at hidden truths waiting to be uncovered. Shadows danced playfully as they delved deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, their lights revealing glimpses of a forgotten past. Sarah's fingers traced the ghostly remnants of safety warnings, a reminder of the factory's former glory. And then a sound, metallic, ominous, echoing from above. Footsteps, perhaps, or something more sinister. The group hesitated, their hearts quickening with unease. Against their better judgment, they ascended to the upper floors, where shadows clung to the walls like specters of the past. Fresh tire tracks in the dust told a silent tale of recent visitors, their presence lingering in the air like a ghostly whisper. And then a door slammed, footsteps quickening in the distance. Hidden behind rusted machinery, they watched in silence as figures moved with purpose, their voices speaking of illicit deeds and clandestine activities. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized the truth. They were not alone in the abandoned factory. Dark secrets lurked within its decaying walls, waiting to be discovered. When the coast was finally clear, they fled into the night, hearts pounding with adrenaline and fear. Only then, as they reached the safety of their cars, did they dare to speak of what they had witnessed. But some mysteries are best left unsolved, some doors better left unopened. As time passed, the factory remained a silent sentinel, its windows gazing out like watchful eyes upon the world. And in the darkness of night, whispers of unseen activity lingered in the air, a reminder of the dangers that lurked within its shadows. The memory of that fateful night haunted their dreams, a reminder of the thin line between curiosity and peril. And though they never returned, the specter of the abandoned factory lingered in their thoughts, a cautionary tale of the dangers that lie hidden in forgotten places. So as the world slumbers and the night grows deep, remember the tale of the abandoned factory and the secrets it guards. For in the realm of the unknown, some mysteries are best left undisturbed, some truths better left buried in the shadows. And as you drift into slumber, may the echoes of that rainy evening fade into the mists of forgotten dreams. Story 7. The gentle rhythm of raindrops tapping against my bedroom window soothed me into a tranquil state throughout the evening. Nestled in bed, I listened to the melodic patter while shadows gracefully danced across my ceiling, cast by the swaying branches outside. The old house murmured softly, its wooden frame settling in the cool night air. These familiar sounds had become my nightly serenade ever since I moved into the Victorian dwelling 6 months ago. My mind drifted between wakefulness and slumber until a new sound stirred my senses. Initially, it was barely discernible, a faint scraping noise echoing from somewhere downstairs. In my half-asleep state, I brushed it off as another one of the house's myriad nocturnal whispers. The floorboards often murmured and groaned as temperatures dipped, and the radiators intermittently clicked and hummed. Yet the sound repeated itself. This time it was more defined, a gentle sliding akin to wood brushing against wood. My eyes widened, and I found myself listening intently. While the rain maintained its steady cadence, these fresh sounds seemed to be growing in frequency. I sat up cautiously, ensuring my bed springs remained silent. The dim moonlight seeped through my sheer curtains, enveloping everything in a soft silver-gray hue. My bedroom door stood slightly ajar, revealing a sliver of darkness beyond. The sound echoed once more, and this time I pinpointed its origin, the antique writing desk in my study, the one with drawers that always stubbornly stuck. I was intimately familiar with that particular sound from my daily battles with the desk, but I hadn't left my bed for hours. My heart quickened, not from fear, but from an odd sense of curiosity. The precision of the sounds hinted at someone moving cautiously, deliberately. A typical intruder would likely be more hurried, less meticulous. This methodical approach hinted at something altogether different. Getting out of bed, I slipped my feet into the plush wool slippers beside it. The solid wooden floor grounded me as I ventured towards my bedroom door with deliberate steps, avoiding the creaky floorboards. The hallway outside resembled a tunnel of shadows, pierced only by the faint glow from my window. Standing in the doorway, I noticed an anomaly in the darkness at the far end where the stairs descended to the ground floor. It appeared denser, more tangible than usual. The air carried an unfamiliar scent, something ancient, reminiscent of old paper and leather-bound books. Tracing my fingers along the wallpaper for guidance, I advanced cautiously. The house felt altered at this hour, as if the familiar spaces had subtly shifted. The rain's persistent beat masked any soft sounds I might have made. Pausing at the top of the stairs, the strange noises had ceased, replaced by a charged silence. Peering into the darkness below, I identified shapes: the banister, the foyer table, the study doorway. Then, I noticed the light, not harsh or yellow, but a gentle radiance emanating from my study, barely visible yet illuminating the floor in a soft glow. Descending the stairs demanded my full attention. Each step had to be flawless, noiseless. The old wood seemed to cooperate, understanding my need for silence. As I reached the ground, the peculiar scent intensified. Old paper mingled with a mineral essence, like damp stone in ancient caves. The study door stood partially open, though I distinctly remembered closing it. Through the crack, my writing desk was bathed in that peculiar light. The drawers were all ajar, their contents seemingly untouched yet subtly rearranged. Standing in the doorway, I felt not fear but a profound sense of awe. The room shimmered faintly, as if specks of light danced in the air, though there was no source of illumination except for that unearthly glow. A shadow flitted behind my desk chair, more felt than seen. Intrigued, I stepped forward. The temperature dropped, and my breath materialized in small clouds. On the desk lay a sheet of paper with elegant script I couldn't decipher. The ink seemed to shift, preventing me from reading the words, yet I sensed they were meant for me. As I reached for the paper, the light receded like a retreating tide. The shadow near the window moved, which was now open despite the rain. A cool breeze stirred the papers on my desk, revealing that my visitor sought no material possessions. The enigmatic light vanished, leaving only the natural darkness of night. I felt a certainty that something intangible had been taken, a memory, a dream, a fragment of reality. The once inscribed paper now blank, I understood its message had been absorbed into my subconscious. Closing the window, I noted the rain had left no trace. The drawers of my desk were neatly shut, untouched. Everything appeared undisturbed, yet the room felt forever altered, straddling two worlds, the familiar physical realm and a realm just beyond perception. Drifting back to bed, sleep enveloped me, ushering dreams of mysterious scripts and purposeful shadows. In the morning, no evidence remained of my nocturnal encounter, save for the lingering aroma of old books and stone, and a lingering sense of being chosen for an unknown destiny. The rain persisted, blurring the line between reality and dreams, between what existed and what could be. In the gentle dawn light, pondered whether I witnessed a theft or received a gift. A glimpse into a realm where shadows narrate our tales and light conveys messages felt but never fully understood. Story 8. The rain tapped gently against the ancient windows, composing a serene melody that enveloped me as I sank into the plush leather armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea in my hands. The grand Victorian mansion loomed, its regal presence accentuated by the high ceilings and intricate moldings that cast delicate shadows in the soft evening glow. Without hesitation, I had embraced the opportunity to house-sit for 3 months in this magnificent historic abode. Solitude within these walls promised the perfect backdrop for immersing myself in the world of my novel. The wood paneling sparkled under layers of polish, while the lace curtains danced in the dwindling daylight. Each piece of antique furniture seemed to whisper stories of bygone eras through its weathered facade. A colossal grandfather clock stood stoic in the corner, its rhythmic ticking echoing through the room, a guardian of time. On that initial evening, I ventured through the house, acquainting myself with its layout. The library enticed me with rows of leather-bound books adorned with faded golden titles, my steps echoing softly on the hardwood floors. The kitchen boasted original features: an imposing iron stove, gleaming copper pots dangling from the ceiling, and cabinets adorned with beveled glass that played with the light in mesmerizing patterns. As night unfurled its dark cloak, the rain intensified, a soothing drumbeat on the roof. Nestled in the guest room, just as I began to drift into slumber, a faint creak resonated from below, as if an unseen presence tiptoed on ancient floorboards. Rationalizing that old houses often voice their settling with a symphony of sounds, I tried to dismiss the unease creeping into my thoughts. Yet, I found myself holding my breath, attuned to every subtle noise, the whisper of wind, the gentle tap of branches against glass, and the occasional rustle of fabric in the hallway. Sleep eventually claimed me, though my dreams were weaved with shadows and distant murmurs. With the first light of dawn, the sun poured through tall windows, dispelling the remnants of nighttime apprehensions. The day unfolded with me nestled at an antique desk by a bay window overlooking the lush gardens. Inspired by the enchanting setting, my writing flowed effortlessly, each word painting a vivid tapestry. As twilight approached, a peculiar sight caught my attention. A portrait of a young Victorian woman, previously hanging in the dining room, now graced the walls of the study where I toiled. Doubt flickered in my mind, questioning the veracity of my memory. That night, the footsteps returned, more defined this time, purposeful in their movements. They traversed the ground floor, ascended the main staircase, and continued down the hallway, passing my door to enter the master bedroom at the end. Motionless in bed, my heart drummed a steady rhythm as I strained to catch every sound. When morning arrived, the bedroom door stood locked, undisturbed, just as the owners had left it. Days melded into each other with a similar rhythm. Tranquil daylight hours dedicated to writing, while twilight heralded subtle alterations in the house's demeanor. A chair shifted imperceptibly, books rearranged themselves, and the faint fragrance of lavender lingered in the empty spaces. On one occasion, a note inscribed in elegant cursive appeared on my desk, beckoning me with its enchanting script, only to dissolve into a mere shadow upon closer inspection. The portrait of the Victorian woman embarked on its enigmatic journey around the house, relocating each morning without a sound. At times, a fleeting movement within the painting caught my peripheral vision, a tilt of the head, a shift in expression. Yet when faced directly, the image remained static, the woman's serene smile unchanged. One serene evening, while engrossed in a book in the library, the soft strains of a piano drifted through the house. Following the ethereal music, I arrived in the music room, where an ancient grand piano stood silent, yet emitting a residual warmth from recent touch. With the cessation of the melody upon my arrival, I stood in awe, surrounded by the palpable echoes of unseen musicians. In my third week within the mansion, a hidden journal surfaced behind a stack of books in the library. Its pages unveiled the musings of a young woman from a bygone era who once sought solace within these very walls. She chronicled tales of art, music, and the profound contentment she found in this sanctuary. The final entry spoke of a reluctance to depart, a yearning to eternally reside in the embrace of the beloved home. The most peculiar occurrences unfurled in those hazy moments between wakefulness and slumber. Soft humming reverberated nearby, accompanied by a gentle pressure at the foot of my bed, as if a spectral presence settled beside me. Instead of fear, these encounters bestowed an inexplicable tranquility, as if the essence of the house itself extended solace. With each passing week, the realization dawned upon me that I shared the space with another entity, one that exuded a benevolent aura, perhaps even a protective embrace. The nightly footsteps became a familiar cadence, akin to a dear friend navigating their abode. The migrating painting ceased to be a riddle, transforming into a playful exchange between kindred spirits. Every dawn greeted me with meticulously arranged manuscript pages, my words delicately straightened upon the desk, despite leaving them scattered the night before. Occasionally, new passages materialized in my writing, penned in a flowing script that seemed to fade upon closer scrutiny, yet enriching my narrative with an ethereal beauty. On the eve of my departure, I settled into the same armchair where my journey commenced. The rain serenaded against the windows, weaving a familiar lullaby. From the corner of my eye, a silhouette garbed in Victorian attire drifted through the doorway, yet I chose not to turn and behold. Instead, a smile graced my lips as I murmured a silent gratitude to the vacant room. The air grew heavy with unspoken farewells, perfumed with the scent of lavender. Upon gathering my belongings the following morning, I beheld the portrait restored to its original place in the dining room. The woman's countenance bore a warmth, a wisdom newfound. Surveying the grandeur of the house one final time, I comprehended that certain places harbored more than memories. They cradled fragments of all the souls who cherished them, interweaving a tapestry of shared experiences that transcended the confines of time. Placing the key on the entryway table, I closed the ponderous front door behind me. Glancing back, I caught a glimpse in an upper window, a fluttering curtain, a shadow in Victorian garb, or perhaps a figment of imagination. Yet, upon a second look, my reflection gazed back from the glass, distorted by the morning light. The house stood regal and silent, safeguarding its mysteries for the next caretaker destined to call it home. Story 9. In the tranquil night, the soft patter of rain on canvas enveloped my senses within the darkened tent, beckoning sleep to elusive corners. Mike and Sarah had surrendered to slumber hours ago, their rhythmic breaths harmonizing with the forest's nocturnal symphony. Our chosen haven, a secluded camping spot of untouched beauty and seclusion, now bore down on my thoughts with a weighty solitude. Earlier, under the canopy of ancient trees, we had ventured deep into the heart of the old-growth forest, following a faint trail meandering amidst towering pines and venerable oaks. The air had carried a crisp purity, redolent with the fragrant essence of pine needles and late summer blooms. Amidst shared laughter and whispered dreams, we sought solace from the chaos of our lives in the cradle of nature's embrace. Yet, as the sun dipped below the horizon, signaling the transition to twilight, a disquieting discovery disrupted our tranquil reverie. While gathering firewood for the evening's warmth, my eyes caught sight of peculiar tire tracks cutting through the undergrowth, untouched by recent rain, in a place where human presence felt incongruous. Mentioning it to Mike, his nonchalant explanation of Forest Service vehicles patrolling did little to dispel the unease settling in my bones. Around our crackling campfire, as stars blinked through the canopy above, we shared tales of phantoms and roasted marshmallows, our voices muted in deference to the vast wilderness encircling us. A gentle breeze carried the scent of smoke into the night, carrying away our worries about the enigmatic tracks, until the distant hum of an engine shattered the tranquility. Initially a distant murmur, akin to thunder rolling over distant hills, the sound crept closer before abruptly halting. Sarah's intuitive suggestion to douse the fire now seemed prophetic. In the ensuing darkness, we sat in silence, attuned to the nocturnal chorus of crickets and owls, while voices carried on the wind, too indistinct to decipher yet laden with urgency and authority. They were not the voices of casual wanderers or forest rangers. Their purposeful tones resonated with a professional gravity that chilled me to the core. Through breaks in the foliage, glimpses of flashlight beams scanning the forest floor revealed a meticulous search underway. Now, ensconced in the tent as rain began its gentle descent, each sense heightened to a keen edge, the rhythmic cadence of droplets almost hypnotic in its attempt to veil the imminent danger lurking just beyond. Amidst the rain's lullaby, a cacophony of sounds reached my ears. Twigs snapping under cautious footsteps, muted conversations drifting from afar, the ominous click of weapons being readied. Beside me, Sarah stirred, her hand seeking mine in the darkness, a silent reassurance of shared vigilance. Mike's breathing, imperceptibly altered, hinted at his vigilant wakefulness. We remained a tableau of vigilance, cognizant of the peril encircling us, yet paralyzed by the uncertainty of action. A passing beam of light rendered the tent momentarily translucent, my heart suspended between beats as shadows flitted past. The voices drew nearer, their murmurs now decipherable despite their hushed tones. Grid search complete for sectors 7 and 8. No signs of interference detected. Maintain vigilance. We cannot afford any disruptions to the operation. The lab. Two innocuous words that unfurled a tapestry of understanding. The seclusion, the armed presence, the meticulous precision. We had unwittingly encamped on the fringes of a clandestine operation far more menacing than mere wildlife encounters. The rain continued its gentle ministration, transforming from a nuisance to a shield against detection. It masked our movements, shrouded our breaths, and crucially, would obliterate our tracks as we made our clandestine departure. We waited, time measured by the syncopation of raindrops and heartbeats. The search party gradually receded, their lights dwindling into distant pinpricks before vanishing entirely. Yet we remained immobile, understanding that patience in moments of peril was the gateway to survival. With the approaching dawn, as the rain dwindled to a misty caress and the avian choir heralded morning's advent, we dared to stir, packing our belongings in a silence as profound as the forest's depths. Each rustle of fabric reverberated deafeningly, each zipper's closure a clarion call of our presence. In the gray half-light of dawn, the forest assumed an ominous demeanor, shadows elongated and trees looming with an ominous portent. The veiled mist, ordinarily a thing of ethereal beauty, now cloaked unseen threats lurking in the undergrowth. Progressing cautiously, we treaded with deliberate care, sidestepping twigs that threatened betrayal underfoot. The path to civilization necessitated a crossing over a babbling stream, slightly swollen from the recent downpour, rendering the traverse perilous. Yet the rushing waters promised to mask our scent and footprints from any tracking hounds that might be employed. Stepping into the frigid flow, the shock of cold water jolted our senses, fortifying our alertness and focus. A distant rumble of engines froze us in our tracks. Through the foliage, a vehicle traversed a concealed access route, the sight enough to induce us to merge with the damp bark of a colossal pine, scarcely daring to draw breath. The vehicle passed without faltering, but its passage affirmed our lurking dread. Safety remained a distant promise. As daylight burgeoned, we persisted in our cautious retreat, every shadow potentially concealing a sentinel, every rustle of foliage a harbinger of encroachment. The weight of our gear paled in comparison to the burden of silence we bore, a legacy of shared apprehension. Upon reaching the marked trail, denoted by blazes on ancient bark, a surge of relief coursed through me. But jubilation remained tempered, conversation stifled, pace unbroken. Understanding, born from the crucible of fear, dictated that complacency could prove fatal. Hours elapsed before our vehicle materialized in the sparse parking area, tears of gratitude brimming as the forest dwindled in the rearview mirror. Only after miles had distanced us from the enigmatic woods did Sarah breach the silence. Should we disclose it? Mike's somber shake of the head provided the answer. Disclose what? Flickering lights, disembodied voices. Speculation, nothing more. I maintained a steadfast silence, hands steady on the wheel, yet my thoughts meandered back to that fateful night. To the authoritative voices, the systematic search, the covert laboratory nestled within the wilds. Sometimes the prudent choice is to forge ahead, permitting the rain to efface tracks and memories alike. Yet on nights when rain taps a plaintive melody on my window pane, I find myself adrift in ruminations of that forest, contemplating the enigma still veiled within its depths, shielded from the world by a shroud of trees and silence. And I ponder if, within that expansive wilderness, other unwitting wanderers are being schooled in the same truth we discovered. That some perils whisper rather than bellow, and certain mysteries are best left unexplored. Story 10. In the hushed stillness of the night, my footsteps created a gentle cadence on the deserted road. Wisps of my breath swirled in the autumn air, resembling fleeting spirits dancing in the moonlit night. The path ahead seemed to stretch endlessly, flanked by ancient trees swaying with a hypnotic grace in the nocturnal breeze, their leaves murmuring enigmatic secrets that eluded my understanding. It was not my intention to be wandering alone at this late hour. My vehicle had betrayed me miles back, leaving me stranded in a desolate area where my phone's screen displayed a frustrating lack of signal bars, a common plight in these remote parts. The nearest town lay somewhere ahead, veiled in darkness, its lights still beyond my sight. Only the gentle radiance of the waning moon guided my way, casting elongated shadows that reached out like spectral fingers beckoning me towards the unknown. A subtle sound drifted towards me, almost imperceptible at first, the soft hum of an approaching engine steadily growing louder in the obscurity behind me. In ordinary circumstances, such a sound would have been a welcome prospect, a potential rescue from my solitary journey. Yet, an unsettling shift in the atmosphere made my skin prickle with unease, a premonition of impending danger. I pressed on, maintaining my pace while stealing wary glances over my shoulder. A dark sedan crept closer, its headlights dimming to reveal the outline of a solitary figure within. My heart quickened its rhythm, though I endeavored to keep my breathing steady and composed. With a soft electrical whir, the window lowered. "Need a ride?" The man's voice, surprisingly soft and melodic, held an undertone of something amiss, like sweet honey concealing a venomous sting. Politely declining, I feigned proximity to my destination, a necessary deception. "I insist," his tone shifted, losing its earlier melody, now hard and coercive. "It's perilous to walk alone in the night." The irony of his words did not escape me. The true peril lay not in the darkness or the deserted road, but in the predator seeking to ensnare me in his vehicle. I subtly increased my pace, widening the gap between us without revealing the tendrils of fear creeping into my mind. The car persisted in its slow pursuit, akin to a predator trailing its prey. My thoughts raced through potential escape routes. The dense forest flanking the road offered concealment, yet also harbored unknown risks. Darting blindly through unfamiliar terrain in the darkness held its own perils. The creak of the car door swinging open spurred me into action. Without hesitation, I veered off the road into the welcoming embrace of the trees, my feet finding purchase on the yielding earth. The shadows enveloped me like a protective shroud as branches clawed at my face and arms. Echoes of curses and heavy footfalls reverberated behind me, urging me to focus solely on the path ahead. Every sense heightened, the rough texture of tree bark beneath my touch, the pungent fragrance of pine needles, the distant melody of a nocturnal bird. I moved with stealth, drawing upon the skills honed from years of traversing rugged terrains. A silent transfer of weight from heel to toe, a cautious test of each step before committing my full weight. The forest seemed to conspire in my favor. Dense undergrowth masked my movements, impeding pursuit while shrouding me in secrecy. Moonlight filtered through the canopy in sporadic patches, casting a bewildering interplay of light and shadow. I embraced this chaos, flitting from one shadow to another like a phantom. Time lost its relevance, marked solely by the thunderous beat of my heart and the cadence of my measured breaths. The distance traveled and the direction taken remained unknown to me. The echoes of pursuit dwindled, though uncertainty lingered. Had my pursuer relented, or was he advancing with greater caution? A clearing materialized ahead, bathed in silvery moonlight. At its heart stood a forsaken structure, a modest cabin, its windows devoid of light and life. A surge of conflicting emotions flooded my being, a blend of hope and dread. It could offer refuge, and perhaps a means of defense, yet it also posed the risk of becoming a trap if discovered by my pursuer. Fate intervened as distant rustlings echoed from the forest behind me. Approaching the cabin cautiously, I tested each creaking board of the modest porch before committing my weight. The door yielded silently, swinging inward on well-oiled hinges. Within, a Spartan interior greeted me, a plain wooden table, a scattering of chairs, and antiquated hunting gear adorning the walls. The air hung stagnant and icy, permeated by the musty scent of abandonment. Nestling into a shadowed corner, I positioned myself to survey both the door and windows while shrouded in darkness. Gradually, my breath slowed, echoing in the stillness as time ebbed away in silence. The cabin groaned and settled, its time-worn structure yielding to the nocturnal chill. A rustle outside jolted me to a standstill, not the sound of footsteps, but a softer, more calculated presence. The moonlight dimmed as shrouds of cloud passed overhead, plunging the interior into deeper obscurity. Amidst that near-total darkness, a breath, distinct from my own, echoed within the cabin's confines. My gaze darted frantically, scouring every crevice, every shadow for signs of movement. A floorboard creaked, the sound reverberating from unseen corners, merging with a chilling drop in temperature that rendered my breath visible in the frigid air. A sliver of moonlight unveiled movement near the ceiling, a spider meticulously weaving its delicate web, crafting intricate patterns that seemed to coalesce and dissolve into meaningful forms before dissipating into chaos. Hours drifted by, ensnared in a peculiar limbo between dread and fascination. The night deepened, then gradually surrendered to the burgeoning light of dawn. As the first blush of morning tinged the sky, the oppressive sensation of being surveilled dissipated, akin to morning mist dispersing under the sun's radiant gaze. Emerging from the cabin, the forest assumed a different visage in the early light. Once menacing trees now stood sentinel, exuding a sense of tranquility and guardianship. Discovering a path diverging from the cabin, I followed its meandering course, eventually intersecting with a paved road disparate from the one I had left behind. A passing motorist, a kindly elderly woman en route to her daughter's abode, offered me a lift to the nearest town. Oblivious to my disheveled appearance and the verdant remnants adorning my person, she engaged me in amiable chatter about her grandchildren. I chose not to recount the events of that fateful night. Who would lend credence to my tale of a shadowy stranger in a dark sedan, a tumultuous chase through the woods, and a cabin that epitomized both salvation and enigma? On tranquil nights, when the waning moon casts its ethereal glow, my thoughts invariably drift towards that enigmatic cabin nestled within the woods. I ponder its continued existence, poised in its secluded clearing, a sanctuary for lost souls navigating the darkness. Contemplating the spectral presence I sensed within its walls, I question whether it stemmed from my fear or if a more mysterious force had safeguarded me that night, concealing me from the genuine malevolence that pursued me into the woods. The true essence of those shadowed hours lingers as an enigma, enshrouded in veils of silence and obscurity. Yet one certainty remains steadfast. Sometimes, the shadows we seek harbor lesser perils than the malevolence cloaked in human guise, offering assistance veiled in saccharine words. Story 11. The gentle tap of rain on my car's windshield created a soothing cadence, lulling me into a tranquil state as I navigated the winding back roads that stretched endlessly before me. Daylight gracefully dissolved into a hazy twilight, the misty atmosphere enveloping the landscape in a cloak of muted colors. The rain, a constant companion, painted the world in shades of gray and blue, its persistent drizzle harmonizing with my contemplative mood. For hours, I had been on the road, the journey accompanied by the peculiar sounds emanating from my car. Initially subtle, these noises had grown in intensity, resembling a whispered dialogue that refused to be ignored. When the engine finally succumbed, it did so without fanfare, fading into silence like a gentle slumber. Bringing my vehicle to a halt by the roadside, I found solace under the towering pine trees that formed a natural canopy overhead, filtering the rain into a delicate mist. The impending dusk cast elongated shadows across the dashboard, captivating me with the mesmerizing dance of light through raindrops on the windows, creating miniature prisms that swayed with the breeze. As I reached for my phone, seeking a signal in the remote wilderness, the absence of connection was no surprise. The tranquil isolation that had enveloped me on my drive now felt tinged with a subtle unease. I sat in contemplation, the rain's rhythm a constant companion, while fleeting headlights flickered in my rearview mirror, their passing presence fleeting and indifferent. When a black SUV finally pulled up behind me, its headlights casting a soft glow through the rain, a wave of relief mingled with apprehension washed over me. The pristine condition of the vehicle seemed out of place amidst the muddy back roads, and the driver's approach, umbrella in hand, exuded a formal charm incongruous with the gentle rainfall. A middle-aged man, attired in business casual, greeted me with a smile that carried a paternal warmth, his voice a soothing melody that resonated with the rain's symphony. "Car trouble?" he inquired respectfully, his concern genuine. "I passed by earlier and noticed you've been here a while. Wanted to make sure you're okay." His thoughtful gesture touched me, yet a niggling doubt crept into my mind, questioning how he knew the duration of my roadside sojourn from a single passing glance. Despite this, his presence offered comfort in the encroaching darkness. Offering assistance, he inspected the car's engine with practiced ease, discussing potential issues in a melodic tone that blended seamlessly with the rainfall. Mentioning a repair shop a few miles ahead, he suggested towing my car for proper maintenance, emphasizing the hazards of the night. The offer, though logical, bore an unsettling undertone, like a painting slightly askew, imperceptibly unsettling. It was the perfection of his attire, the dryness of his clothes in the rain, the pristine white cloth that defied logic. Observing his reflection in my mirror as he worked, I noticed fleeting anomalies, shadows that hinted at something beyond the ordinary. His insistence on aiding me grew overwhelming, each polite refusal met with a reasoned rebuttal that eroded my resistance. The rain's melody shifted, discordant notes creeping into its rhythm, instilling a primal unease. The shadows cast by his SUV's headlights lengthened, their reach ominous, as if beckoning towards me with phantom fingers. His immaculate demeanor, unwavering smile, and eyes devoid of light painted a portrait of disquiet. A glimpse into his vehicle revealed an unsettling emptiness, the back seats shrouded in heavy plastic. Echoes of my grandmother's cautionary tales resounded in my mind, of entities that mimicked humanity but fell short in subtle ways. His unblinking gaze, immaculate appearance, and unyielding smile hinted at an otherworldly facsimile of human form. With trembling resolve, I restarted my car, the engine roaring to life effortlessly, his smile widening unnaturally. Politely declining his final offer, I departed, glancing back to witness him standing motionless in the rain, an enigmatic figure swallowed by the night alongside his pristine SUV. My hands trembled on the wheel for miles, passing an overgrown sign that marked an abandoned auto repair shop, its vacant windows watching like hungry eyes. In the aftermath, I pondered the surreal encounter, the man too perfect to be real, the phantom repair shop that defied logic. On rainy nights, a spectral anticipation lingered, a subconscious vigil for flawless headlights and a figure of unsettling perfection. I avoided those back roads, haunted by the specter of stranded travelers lured into the darkness by pristine illusions. An inspection revealed no faults in my car, yet beneath the hood, a bizarre absence of rainwater hinted at an unnatural occurrence. The inexplicable dryness stood as a testament to a surreal episode, a brush with the uncanny that defied rational explanation. Story 12. The soft hum of fluorescent lights fills the deserted hallways as I wander through the mall on my nightly patrol. After 5 years as a security guard here, the peculiar ambiance that settles in after closing time has become a familiar companion. The gentle whir of escalators, now motionless for the night, provides a comforting backdrop to my footsteps. Tonight, however, carries an unusual weight in the air, like the tension before a storm, despite the weather forecast promising clear skies. My flashlight casts gentle patterns on the gleaming floor, bouncing off the darkened storefronts where mannequins stand frozen, their elongated shadows stretching across the walls. Pausing by the central fountain, now tranquil and quiet, I reflect on the vibrant daytime scene. Children tossing coins, teenagers giggling, elderly couples finding solace on nearby benches. But in the night, the water's surface transforms into a flawless mirror, capturing the moonlight filtering through the lofty glass ceiling above. It's 1:15 a.m. according to my watch, with 4 more hours until the morning cleaning crew's arrival. A faint noise grabs my attention, perhaps the building settling, or perhaps something more elusive. In this role, one learns to differentiate between ordinary nocturnal sounds and those deserving investigation. This sound falls into the latter category, resembling fabric brushing against fabric, like someone in loose attire taking steps. I pivot towards the north wing, where the sound originated. My flashlight reveals nothing amiss, just the usual array of closed shops. The bookstore displaying its best sellers, the jewelry store's diamonds glistening, the clothing boutique with its carefully arranged garments. Drawing closer for inspection, I detect a subtle yet unsettling anomaly. One mannequin in the boutique window stands at an unusual angle, rotated about 30 degrees from its usual stance. It's unmistakable to me, having passed this display countless times. Security guards develop a keen eye for discrepancies, for things awry. A soft crackle from my radio startles me briefly, only to reveal static, a common occurrence in certain areas of the mall. Stooping to adjust the volume, I glance up and freeze in place. The mannequin has shifted once more, now directly facing the window towards me. While my rational mind searches for logical explanations, perhaps a mishap by the display team or vibrations causing the rotation, deep down, I sense neither fits the bill. Having worked in retail, I know mannequins don't move on their own. I reach for my radio, intending to contact Central Security, but hesitate before pressing the talk button. What could I say? That I'm unnerved by a mannequin? Instead, I approach the window, my flashlight fixed on the figure. Its featureless countenance betrays nothing, yet its stance implies arrested movement mid-stride. A flicker in the window's reflection catches my eye, movement behind me. Slowly turning, I sweep my light across the open mall space. No movement registers in the beam, but I notice the fountain has sprung to life, water trickling down its tiers in a gentle cascade. This defies logic. The fountain systems operate on strict timers, controlled by the mall's central computer. My steps resonate as I advance towards the fountain. The water shimmers crystal clear under my flashlight, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow on the floor. Though the sound should be calming, it prickles the hairs on my neck. Beneath the water's gentle symphony, I discern another sound. Faint footsteps, distinct yet muffled, emanating from the darkness beyond my light's reach. I stand motionless, listening intently. The steps persist, unhurried, tracing a circular path around me. They possess an eerie quality, as if the walker's feet hover slightly above the ground, akin to someone tiptoeing in the dark. Security, I call out, my voice unwavering despite my racing pulse. The mall is closed. Identify yourself. The footsteps cease. The fountain's melodic flow persists. Then from the shadows emerges a sound that chills me to the core. The gentle scrape of plastic against plastic, multiplied manifold. Like a chorus of mannequins rotating on their bases simultaneously, my flashlight flickers from window to window. In each display, the mannequins have altered their positions. Some now face me directly, while others seem to have inched closer to the glass. Their blank visages exude a newfound intent, a heightened awareness. A subtle movement catches my eye. a mannequin's fingers slowly curling into a fist. I retreat towards the security office, maintaining a vigilant sweep of my light across the windows. The scraping noises reverberate through the darkness. In my periphery, a swift motion catches my attention. A pale hand pressing against a shop window from within. A gate I know I secured hours ago. The fountain's rush intensifies, filling the air with a cool mist carrying an unnatural scent. Not the usual chlorine tang, but something synthetic, a blend of fresh plastic and fabric dye. My uniform clings damply to my skin, a sensation of unease creeping in. I reach the security office door, grappling with my keys, unwilling to divert my gaze from the dim mall. The scraping draws nearer. My flashlight beam lands on a sight that steals my breath. A mannequin stationed in the corridor, 30 feet away. Its head tilts imperceptibly as I observe, a motion so slight it could be imagined. Finally, the key secures the lock. I stumble into the office, slamming the door shut behind me. The security monitors flicker to life as I collapse into my chair, displaying feeds from cameras scattered throughout the mall. What I witness sends tremors through my hands as I reach for the phone to summon backup. Every mannequin has shifted from its original spot. They congregate in the corridors, grouped in twos and threes, all fixated on the security office. On one monitor, I witness a mannequin glide, not in a jerky manner as expected, but with a fluid, almost graceful stride forward. Others follow suit, their silent procession purposeful and coordinated. The phone line crackles with static. The radio remains silent, regardless of the channel I tune to. Beyond my office, the fountain roars like a deluge, its mist seeping under the door, exuding a scent of plastic and paint. Seated in my chair, I watch the monitors as the mannequins draw nearer. Their inscrutable faces betray no emotion, no agenda, yet a profound intuition tells me they are cognizant. Cognizant of me, of themselves, of this peculiar night that has metamorphosed them from mere displays into something beyond comprehension. The office lights flicker, and in that fleeting darkness, I discern a gentle tapping at my door. As the lights stabilize, the security cameras reveal an empty corridor, devoid of mannequins. However, I know they lingered just beyond the camera's scope. The tapping resumes, more insistent this time, accompanied by the whisper of plastic fingers gliding down the door's surface. Glancing at my watch, 3:45 a.m. A little over an hour until the cleaning crew's arrival. I lean back in my chair, an odd tranquility settling over me despite my racing heart. The mannequins persist in their gentle tapping, a rhythm mirroring my heartbeat. And I ponder, amidst the curling mist around my feet, what tales the morning crew will uncover upon their arrival, if they arrive at all. Story 13, The Museum Mystery. The soft hum of fluorescent lights whispered through the stillness of the night as I made my solitary rounds down the silent corridors of the museum. Familiar sounds enveloped me. The gentle tap of my footsteps on marble floors, the comforting whir of the climate control systems, and the occasional settling creaks of the aged building. Yet tonight felt different, as if the very air around me held a mysterious energy, causing a shiver to run down my spine. Raindrops pattered against the Victorian windows, casting intricate shadows that danced across the polished surfaces. Pausing near the Renaissance section, my flashlight pierced the darkness, revealing the golden frames of ancient masterpieces. The security office exuded a cool blue glow as I diligently made my midnight logbook entry. Everything on the monitors appeared normal: empty hallways, quiet galleries, and shadows in their usual places. But an unsettling feeling lingered, akin to entering a room and sensing a subtle disturbance. A faint click echoed in the distance, prompting me to heighten my senses. It could have been nothing, just the building settling into the night. However, years of vigilant night shifts had taught me to trust my instincts. I dimmed the office lights and focused on the screens, my hand hovering near the silent alarm. The first hint of trouble came from camera 7, capturing movement in the medieval armor exhibit where no movement should be. Then camera 12, in the Egyptian wing, flickered with a glimpse of shadowy figures. These were no mere tricks of light. Someone was purposefully navigating the museum's halls. Silence enveloped my radio, no chatter from the other guards who should have been nearby. The truth dawned on me slowly. This was no ordinary break-in. My colleagues had been incapacitated, likely using the storm as cover. I needed to act cautiously. The protocol for such situations was clear. Alert authorities, avoid confrontation, and monitor from a secure spot. But as I reached for the alarm, darkness descended. The backup generator failed to kick in, plunging the building into shadow. They had planned this meticulously. In the blackness, my senses sharpened. Rain drummed louder, matching the frantic beat of my heart. Scents of leather and coffee mingled in the air, accompanied by an unfamiliar sound, deliberate footsteps outside the office. Drawing on my knowledge of the museum's layout, I stealthily made my way to a hidden maintenance corridor leading to the basement. Darkness became my ally, every step calculated to avoid detection. The forgotten passage, once part of the building's original design, guided me toward safety. Navigating the narrow corridor by touch, I heard the intruders' hushed voices echoing through the vents. Their movements indicated a professional operation, likely well-versed in the museum's security measures. The basement loomed ahead, offering both peril and a chance to escape. As I crept deeper into the labyrinthine basement, their radio communications filled the void. Their determination was palpable as they scoured the lower levels, unaware of my presence. I sought refuge in a cluttered storage room, strategizing my next move. Time blurred in the darkness, each moment stretched thin as I evaded the systematic search above. Their lights probed the shadows, inching closer to my hiding place. With a plan forming, I braced myself for the final dash to the service tunnel. Moonlight guided my path as I darted from shadow to shadow, the storm outside masking my movements. The metal door of the tunnel beckoned, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. A voice interrupted my escape, commending my ingenuity. In a swift motion, I unleashed a distraction, seizing the opportunity to slip into the tunnel. Emergency lights guided my way, leading me through the subterranean passage to freedom. Behind me, the sounds of pursuit faded into the distance. Emerging into the rain-soaked night, I fled the scene, sirens wailing in the distance. The intruders had departed empty-handed, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Their true motives remained a mystery, their identities shrouded in darkness. As I recounted the events to investigators, the museum's corridors whispered their enigmatic secrets. Shadows lingered, casting a veil of uncertainty. But I remained vigilant, attuned to the nuances of the night. In the realm of shadows and light, survival hinged on discerning friend from foe. Story 14. The gentle rain fell steadily, a constant companion on my journey through the labyrinthine streets of the ancient district. Each droplet added weight to my clothes, while the evening air carried a chill that crept into my bones, whispering of the need for warmth and shelter. The cobblestone pathways shimmered under the soft glow of vintage street lamps, their light diffused by the misty veil of rain, creating ethereal golden halos around them. I had not intended to be out so late, but a series of wrong turns led me deeper into this unfamiliar part of town, surrounded by looming buildings with weathered facades that seemed to hold secrets of bygone eras within their walls. Turning yet another corner, a beckoning light caught my eye. A restaurant, its windows radiating a welcoming warmth against the encroaching darkness. The establishment exuded an air of classic elegance, with its well-maintained facade of dark wood trim and brass fixtures hinting at tradition and refinement. A hand-painted sign swayed gently in the breeze, its elegant letters slightly faded but still alluring. Through the rain-kissed windows, I glimpsed the flickering glow of candlelight, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. Pushing open the weighty wooden door, a small brass bell chimed softly, announcing my arrival. The interior enveloped me in a cocoon of comfort, a sanctuary from the damp night, filled with the tantalizing aroma of cooking that stirred a hunger deep within. The lighting was soft, provided by authentic oil lamps on each table, casting dancing shadows on the rich red wallpaper. A tall, impeccably dressed man materialized at my side with a silent grace that startled me, his formal demeanor bordering on the edge of stiffness. His accent carried a hint of mystery as he welcomed me, offering a table for one. Nodding in acceptance, I followed him through the spacious restaurant, discovering multiple rooms branching off from the main dining area. As we traversed the establishment, a peculiar observation caught my attention. While every table was meticulously set with gleaming utensils and pristine linens, there seemed to be a conspicuous absence of other diners. The tables displayed signs of recent use, half-filled wine glasses, half-eaten meals, yet the occupants remained elusive, shrouded in mystery. Seated at a corner table beneath an ornate mirror reflecting the warm lamplight, I sank into a surprisingly comfortable chair, noting the mirror's slightly skewed reflection of the room. The host presented a menu bound in soft leather, recommending the chef's signature dish with a subtle emphasis. As I perused the beautifully designed menu, a strange phenomenon unfolded. The words appeared clear, yet their meaning slipped away as soon as I tried to grasp them, like elusive wisps of a forgotten dream. Prices written in unfamiliar symbols seemed to shift and sway when I averted my gaze, adding to the enigmatic ambiance of the place. A younger server approached, pouring water from a carafe with a mesmerizing grace, the liquid catching the lamplight in iridescent hues that defied logic. His flawless smile appeared almost rehearsed, too perfect to be genuine. Amidst the symphony of kitchen sounds, clinking pots and pans, murmured conversations in an unknown tongue, the soft swish of doors opening and closing, I found myself entranced by the orchestrated chaos. The synchronicity of sound and movement seemed slightly askew, like a discordant melody playing out of tune. Choosing the chef's special almost instinctively, I watched as the host's approval manifested in a subtle shift in his gaze, momentarily resembling the reflective gleam of a feline eye. As I awaited my meal, I observed the dining room with heightened scrutiny, noting the eerie stillness of the other tables where unseen diners supposedly indulged in their invisible repasts. When my dish arrived on a silver platter presented with a flourish by the host, its artistic arrangement puzzled me, each component a tantalizing enigma. The aromas that wafted from the plate held a hypnotic allure, evoking memories not my own, weaving tales of distant soirees and conversations in forgotten tongues. With each bite, a kaleidoscope of emotions and recollections flooded my senses, belonging to strangers, yet resonating within me as though they were mine all along. The staff moved with a fluid grace, tending to the phantom tables with meticulous care, their movements verging on a mesmerizing dance that transcended the boundaries of reality. Time itself seemed to warp and bend, stretching like taffy as the rain outside ceased, yet water continued to defy gravity on the window panes, cascading upwards as often as it descended. The mirrors reflected scenes from disparate nights, each tableau a snapshot of a different era, a different reality overlapping with our own. Upon finishing my enigmatic meal, the host presented the bill on a silver tray, the shifting symbols conveying an unspoken understanding of what was owed. Standing to depart, I noticed my table already reset, devoid of any traces of my presence, as though I had never dined there. Accompanied to the door by the host, his movements now fluid and sinuous, he bid me farewell with cryptic words that resonated with echoes of forgotten voices. Stepping back into the night, I glanced back at the glowing windows, the restaurant's facade appearing subtly altered, a subtle shift in time or perception. The name above the entrance had transformed, yet the essence of the place remained unchanged, a place of eternal allure and enigma. As I walked away, a sense of temporal disorientation clouded my thoughts, my watch frozen in a meaningless display, the streets dry despite my vivid recollection of the rain. The elusive restaurant eluded my subsequent searches, a phantom in the tapestry of the city's nocturnal allure. On quiet, mist-laden nights, a hint of warm light and exotic scents would tease my senses, only to dissipate like wisps of a vanishing dream. And in fleeting moments before mirrors, a spectral reflection would beckon, a reminder of a meal half remembered, served by entities that straddled the threshold of humanity. Amidst the endless dance of shadows and the silent symphony of service, I pondered the eternal question: did I truly depart from that enigmatic establishment, or am I still ensnared within its timeless embrace, a guest of honor in a realm where reality and illusion intertwine seamlessly? Perhaps in a parallel reflection, I linger still, savoring a feast of impossibilities, while the staff performs their eternal ballet for patrons who exist beyond the constraints of time and understanding. Story 15: The Whispering Rain. The soft murmur of my truck's engine has always been a soothing companion on these late-night voyages through the open expanse of the road. Raindrops dance lightly on the windshield, orchestrating a tranquil melody that intertwines with the rhythmic hum of tires gliding on the damp asphalt. The dashboard clock glows with a gentle green hue, casting a serene light that bathes the cabin in a peaceful aura. Familiar landmarks, like old friends cloaked in darkness, drift by as I navigate the familiar route I've traveled for 15 years. A cool autumn breeze sneaks through a crack in the passenger window, carrying with it the earthy scent of pine needles and moist soil. Beside me sits my nearly empty thermos of coffee, its last remnants growing cold, a faithful companion on these solitary journeys. The man I picked up at the truck stop hours ago sits in silence, lost in his own contemplations, his gaze fixed on the obsidian night outside his window. Though I hadn't planned on taking on passengers that night, a sense of compassion stirred within me at the sight of him standing in the drizzle, clutching a modest duffel bag, wariness etched upon his face. "Would you mind if I turned on the radio?" I inquired, breaking the comfortable silence that enveloped us. He offered a subtle nod, his eyes still drawn to the darkness beyond. The radio crackled to life, serenading us with the soft crooning of country music at a low volume. The singer's voice blended harmoniously with the pitter-patter of raindrops and the gentle purr of the engine, cocooning us in a peaceful symphony. As we rounded a gentle curve, my headlights brushed against a road sign, momentarily illuminating the cabin in a fleeting glow. In that ephemeral gleam, I caught a glimpse of the passenger's reflection in the window. His eyes were shut, yet there was a certain intensity in his expression that caused my grip on the steering wheel to instinctively tighten imperceptibly. The miles unfurled beneath my truck, marked by the steady cadence of white lines vanishing in my wake. The rain crescendoed, then waned, composing its own melodic cadence on the roof above. A subtle shift in the passenger's posture drew my attention, revealing a glint of metal concealed within his slightly shifted duffel bag. "Looks like a long night ahead," I remarked casually, adjusting my hold on the wheel. He turned towards me, breaking his hour-long silence, his gaze assessing me with a deliberate scrutiny. "Yes," he responded, his voice tinged with an enigmatic finality. A sudden news bulletin interrupted the musical reverie, and before I could react, the passenger's hand swiftly reached out to raise the volume. The announcer's voice permeated the cabin. "Police are seeking a suspect in connection with..." The remainder of the message dissolved as the passenger abruptly silenced the radio. The ensuing silence bore a weightier presence than before, the engine's purr assuming a somber timbre, the rain's whispers taking on an ominous undertone. I maintained my steady course, my mind silently calculating the distances to the next town, the next sanctuary on this desolate stretch of highway. The passenger's breathing shifted, morphing into a controlled cadence, his hand hovering near the duffel bag, fingers tracing intricate patterns on the fabric. The clock on the dashboard now read 3:15 a.m., each minute elongating into an eternity. I began to weave tales of my extensive years on the road, selecting anecdotes that hinted at encounters with the extraordinary, skills in self-defense, and connections with fellow truckers. My voice maintained a tranquil, almost hypnotic cadence, each word chosen with meticulous intent. The headlights of an approaching vehicle fleetingly illuminated the cabin, capturing a subtle movement of the passenger's hand inching towards the bag. With unwavering composure, I casually mentioned my wife's vigilant tracking of my truck's GPS, anticipating regular check-ins. His hand froze in response. As the passing vehicle faded into the night ahead, the rain's gentle percussion resumed its melodic dance on the roof, blending seamlessly with the symphony of engine hum and tire whispers. Time trickled languidly, akin to honey cascading from a spoon. A faint vibration from my phone punctured the silence. "Ah, that must be my wife," I murmured softly, reaching for the device with deliberate languor. "She frets when I undertake the night shifts." I observed the passenger's shoulders tense, then deliberately relax. The distant glow of the next town beckoned on the horizon, promising safety within its luminous embrace. His hand ventured towards the door handle, and he inquired in a carefully neutral tone, "Would you mind if we made a brief stop here? I could use a short respite to stretch my legs." I nodded assent, maintaining a steady pace as we approached the exit ramp. The engine's timber shifted as we decelerated, the rain now cascading more fervently against the windshield. The town's radiant lights drew nearer, casting a welcoming aura of security. At the well-lit gas station, my passenger efficiently gathered his belongings, expressing gratitude for the ride. Stepping out into the rain, he vanished into the obscurity beyond the station's glow. Restarting the engine, I merged back onto the highway, the familiar vibrations lulling me back into a state of tranquility. The rain continued its gentle serenade, and the dashboard clock ticked past 3:45 a.m. In the distance, silent lightning flickered across the sky, illuminating the clouds in a ghostly dance. Though our paths never crossed again on rainy nights like this, as I traverse my customary route, I ponder that fleeting journey. The metallic glimmer within his bag, the poised demeanor he maintained, the tension that gripped his voice at the broadcast's mention. Contemplating the choices we navigate in the obscurity of the night, the narratives we construct in the aftermath, I journey forth on the unending ribbon of the road, where the engine's gentle hum weaves its lulling melody, the rain whispers its calming cadence. Somewhere in the veiled darkness, disparate tales unfurl on distant highways beneath the shroud of rainy skies. Story 16. The night shift always unfolds with a sense of mystery and tranquility. As I unlock the imposing glass doors, I enter the expansive atrium, my footsteps creating a soft echo on the gleaming marble floor. Tonight, however, there is a subtle shift in the familiar routine. The moonlight filters through the skylight, painting the space with ethereal shadows that appear to dance among the dormant storefronts. Despite having traversed these corridors for 3 years, the mall never truly feels deserted. In daylight, it is a lively marketplace resonating with the buzz of shoppers and melodic tunes drifting from above. But in the cloak of night, it metamorphoses into a different entity, a grand temple of commerce holding its breath until the break of day. The security office serves as my sanctuary, a modest room adorned with monitors displaying feeds from cameras scattered throughout the premises. Nestling into my chair, the supple leather emits a gentle creak as I recline. The screens cast a soft, bluish hue over my features. Everything on display seems ordinary. Mannequins stoically stationed in dimly lit windows, escalators frozen in their perpetual ascent, and potted plants casting elongated shadows along the pathways. At the stroke of midnight, I embark on my first patrol. The beam of my flashlight scans over closed shutters and dimmed showcases as I navigate the ground level. The fountain in the central courtyard continues its soothing cascade, the murmur of the water a constant companion in the hushed atmosphere. Sometimes I linger there, observing the coins glimmering at the bottom like celestial remnants. Tonight, a glint in a storefront window catches my attention, a reflection that seems out of place. Slowly turning, I find only emptiness. A faint shiver traverses my spine. Security training urges us to heed our instincts while cautioning against succumbing to mere shadows. Proceeding with measured steps, I patrol the deserted food court where chairs rest neatly atop tables. A stray wrapper dances across the floor, nudged by the gentle breath of the air conditioning. I make a mental note to address the cleaning crew about enhancing their diligence. Suddenly, the crackle of my radio pierces the silence. Initially static, then silence. Presumably a result of interference from the building's electrical systems. Nevertheless, I press the mic button. Bass, radio check. No reply. Another crackle, this time accompanied by what could be a voice buried within the static. I strain to catch the faint sound. A flicker of movement draws my gaze, a shadow gliding amidst the columns near the north entrance. Instinctively, my hand hovers near the radio once more, but I pause. Years of experience advocate for observation before action. The shadow materializes into figures, now 3 in number. They move with purpose, hugging the walls closely. Retreating into an alcove, I meld with the darkness. The figures, now identifiable, are armed, sending a chill down my spine. Yet, my training maintains my breath steady. They remain oblivious to my presence. Mentally running through protocols and procedures, I contemplate pressing the silent alarm button stationed on my belt. However, an inexplicable intuition compels me to wait, to watch, to comprehend. These individuals are not mere thieves. Their actions exude a level of coordination and professionalism that hints at military training. Regressing cautiously towards the security office, I leverage the shadows as my shield. The surveillance cameras offer me a clearer view of their movements, aiding in deciphering their motives. Seated in the welcoming embrace of the leather chair, my eyes scour the monitors. Their trajectory towards the central court strikes me as peculiar. They bypass high-value targets like jewelry stores or electronics outlets, opting instead to meticulously inspect service passageways and maintenance entry points. A notion crystallizes in my mind. They are not here to pilfer, but to seek out something specific, or someone. This realization ushers in a peculiar serenity. This domain is mine, my sanctuary. Every nook, every cranny, every hidden alcove is known to me. They are interlopers here, irrespective of their intentions. Observing their split and maintaining communication through gestures, I deduce their professionalism. Perhaps they are military trained, yet they remain unaware of what I comprehend. The mall's architecture is crafted to disorient, guiding patrons past numerous storefronts. By nightfall, this labyrinthine quality evolves into a strategic advantage. With deliberate finesse, I begin manipulating sections of emergency lighting, engendering pockets of darkness amidst the expected illumination. On the monitors, I witness their reaction, their movements adapting. They exhibit hesitance, a tinge of uncertainty. I hold the reins to the ventilation system as well, adjusting the fans to create subtle air currents that carry sounds in unforeseen directions. A rustle from the north reverberates near the south entrance. They start to cluster, their prior confidence waning. Engaging the mic once more, I forego verbal communication, positioning it near my phone's speaker. The dulcet notes of the mall's daytime music playlist emerge, distorted by static, emanating from random speakers throughout the edifice. On the monitors, I perceive their frozen stance, weapons poised at shadows. Time assumes a fluid quality as I orchestrate my symphony of ambiguity. Their pace quickens, their demeanor less cautious. Errors begin to surface. One of them collides with the display, the ensuing clamor reverberating through the vacant passageways. A faint grin tugs at my lips. A fresh element infiltrates the composition, distant sirens, not triggered by my silent alarm, which remains dormant. Another observer must have detected something amiss and alerted the authorities. The figures on the monitors discern the approaching sirens. Their actions transmute into urgent retreat. However, they are not converging towards their entry point. Unbeknownst to them, they are being subtly herded towards the loading docks. The metallic shutters conceal these exits with a mere press of a button. I bide my time, poised over the control. The first and second figures hasten through the doorway. I count heartbeats, anticipating the third. A decisive press, and the shutters descend with finality. Via the cameras, I witness their belated realization of their misstep. Moments later, crimson and azure lights dance across the marble expanse. Officers navigate through the premises with practiced efficiency, arms poised. I meet them at the loading dock, surrendering the security footage and clarifying their inquiries. Professional, succinct, detached. Following the conclusion of inquiries and paperwork, I resume my rounds. The fountain's melody persists, coins glinting beneath the surface. Display windows reflect only what is expected. My footsteps reverberate across the marble expanse. Yet, an imperceptible change has transpired. The mall appears altered, as though awakening to its latent potential. The shadows amidst the columns seem deeper, more sentient. Perhaps this ambiance has always resonated, and I am only now attuned to it. Alternatively, the edifice may have discerned in me a kindred spirit, a custodian of twilight realms, a sentry of the threshold bridging day and night. Upon concluding my patrol, I retreat to the security office. The monitors emit their comforting azure glow. Tomorrow, throngs of shoppers will inundate these passageways once more, oblivious to the nocturnal occurrences. Yet, I will retain the awareness, as will the mall. The night shift culminates in a familiar manner. I secure the weighty glass doors, step into the burgeoning dawn, and listen as my footfalls dissipate into silence. However, right before I pivot away, a reflection catches my eye in the glass. The edifice settling into its diurnal facade, safeguarding our shared secrets within its tranquil core. Story 17. The gentle patter of rain against the windows enveloped my senses as I traversed the grand entrance hall of the abandoned villa. Each step I took on the gleaming wooden floor reverberated softly, creating a tranquil rhythm that synchronized with my breath. It was not my intention to spend my evening exploring this secluded mansion, but fate had led me here when my car faltered on the desolate road, and the regal structure had silently beckoned to me with its air of solemnity. Moonbeams filtered through the towering windows, casting elongated shadows on the marble floor. Despite its deserted appearance, there was an enigmatic aura about this place. The surfaces were devoid of dust, and the air carried a faint fragrance of furniture polish and coffee. These subtle hints tugged at the corners of my consciousness, yet my weary mind brushed them aside as I sought refuge from the storm. The grand staircase spiraled gracefully upwards, its polished wooden banister cool beneath my touch. In the dim light, I could discern the intricate carvings of vines and flowers adorning each spindle. The craftsmanship spoke of a bygone era when artisans poured their pride into every minute detail of their creations. As I ascended, the wood emitted soft creaks, each sound deliberate and measured. The second floor opened into a broad gallery adorned with portraits. Their countenances, intermittently illuminated by flashes of lightning, seemed to track my movements. One painting in particular drew my gaze. A woman clad in a serene blue dress, her expression tranquil, yet possessing a hint of knowingness. The frame appeared slightly askew, and as I reached out to straighten it, I noticed something peculiar. The wall behind it felt cooler, distinct from the surrounding surface. In the hush of that moment, I became aware of other subtle anomalies. The curtains in a room swayed gently, though all windows remained shut. A chair in the corner bore faint imprints of recent use. A morning newspaper lay neatly folded on a side table, its pages fresh and up to date. A sense of intrigue, rather than fear, quickened my pulse as I realized that this villa was far from deserted. Silently treading down the corridor, I observed light seeping from beneath a door. The warm glow contradicted the emptiness I had presumed. Murmurs, barely rising above whispers, wafted through the sturdy wood. They conversed in measured tones, discussing figures and dates with a business-like precision. I stood motionless, absorbing their words, comprehension slowly dawning in my mind. The villa was not forsaken. It was a meticulously upkept facade. Every detail, from the strategic placement of dust covers to the subtle signs of neglect visible from the exterior, had been orchestrated. This was a place designed to evade notice, an intricate snare for the unwary. The snippets of conversation I overheard validated my suspicions. The villa served as a rendezvous point for individuals who preferred to conduct their affairs away from prying eyes. Retreating cautiously, I ensured each step was soundless, camouflaged by the gentle symphony of rain outside. Upon returning to the gallery, the woman in the blue dress seemed to regard me with newfound understanding. Her painted eyes bore a cautionary message, or perhaps an invitation. The askew frame now appeared intentional, a signal or marker for those privy to its significance. Descending the grand staircase once more, I discerned details I had overlooked during my initial ascent. The faint wear patterns in the carpet contradicted the supposed abandonment. Ingeniously disguised security cameras monitored movement throughout the house, blending seamlessly with the decor. The entire villa was a masterpiece of deception, concealed in plain view. Pausing in the entrance hall, I noticed the rain had diminished to a soft mist. Through the windows, I spied my car where I had left it, yet now I noticed other vehicles concealed in the shadows of the encircling trees. They were luxury models, their dark hues rendering them nearly imperceptible in the night's obscurity. As I reached for the door handle, a soft voice sounded behind me. "Leaving so soon?" The words bore no menace, only a mild curiosity. Turning slowly, I faced a woman whose visage I recognized from the portrait upstairs. She sported a contemporary business suit in lieu of the blue dress, yet her expression mirrored the perceptive gaze of her painted counterpart. "The storm has passed," I responded, mirroring her nonchalant demeanor. Both of us understood this encounter transcended happenstance, extending beyond mere refuge-seeking. The villa had unveiled its enigmas to me, whether by design or accident. She smiled, gesturing towards a warmly lit room branching off the main hall. "Perhaps you'd fancy some coffee before departing. It appears we have matters to discuss." Her invitation carried a significance surpassing mere courtesy. In that instant, I comprehended that my car's breakdown had not been entirely happenstance, and this sophisticated trap had awaited the arrival of someone akin to myself. The rain recommenced its gentle cadence against the windows as I followed her into the room. The villa had ensnared me with its enigma, and now I would discern whether I had unraveled its mysteries or succumbed to its allure. As the door clicked shut behind us, the portrait of the woman in blue observed from above, her painted grin harboring enigmas yet to be unveiled. Through the window, I glimpsed my car bathed in moonlight. I pondered how many others had sought sanctuary within this villa, and how many had departed altered by what they encountered within its walls. The soft rain persisted, erasing any traces of those who came before, leaving solely the sophisticated facade and its closely guarded mysteries. Story 18. In the hushed heart of the forest, the rain fell gently upon the emerald leaves, orchestrating a soothing melody that echoed through the ancient woods. Sarah and I treaded softly on the pine needle carpet, enveloped in a mist that clung to us like a silent guardian. The colossal trees stood sentinel, their intertwined branches creating a canopy that filtered the daylight into a mystical green aura. Nestled in the tranquility, I suggested a moment's respite by a moss-covered log, and Sarah, ever vigilant, acquiesced with a silent nod. Our weary bodies yearned for rest, but the shadows pursued us relentlessly, urging us to keep moving. Amidst the symphony of raindrops cascading from leaf to leaf, I almost forgot the grim reality that had led us here. A clandestine encounter witnessed, secrets unveiled, and now invisible threats lurking in the shadows of the woods. With closed eyes, I delved into the forest's whispers, attuning my senses to its subtle language. The familiar sounds of nature surrounded us, the gentle sway of branches, the distant melodies of waking birds, and the rustle of unseen creatures. Yet beneath the symphony of the wild, a discordance lingered, a subtle shift in the forest's rhythm that set my nerves on edge. Sarah's touch brought me back to the present, her gaze mirroring my unease. Unspoken understanding passed between us. We were no longer alone. The rain persisted in its gentle percussion, masking the approaching danger with its soothing cadence. Rising cautiously, we moved with silent intent, the mist thickening around us, transforming the trees into towering specters observing our every move. The air carried scents both natural and artificial, the earthy fragrance of pine mingling with hints of aftershave and leather, a telltale sign of our pursuers drawing near. Born of these woods, Sarah and I navigated the terrain with practiced ease, our steps guided by memories of childhood explorations. The rain intensified, bestowing upon us a strange serenity amidst the growing storm. Nature itself seemed to conspire in our favor, veiling our path with its watery veil and drowning out the sounds of pursuit. Descending into a natural hollow beneath an ancient oak's roots, we found shelter in the embrace of gnarled limbs, a blend of terror and tranquility pervading our hidden sanctuary. Time ebbed and flowed in the cocoon of our refuge, minutes stretching into eternity as we melded with the forest's essence. As the rain waned, the forest stirred back to life, the veil of mist lifting to reveal a transformed landscape. Signs of our trackers lingered, but they had been misled by nature's cunning ruse. Emerging from our sanctuary, we treaded lightly through the altered realm, our hearts attuned to the forest's heartbeat. The shadows that haunted us had departed, led astray by false trails into the wood's enigmatic depths. In the fading light of day, we emerged from the woods, bidding farewell to the ancient sentinels whose secrets we had shared. Our bond with the forest deepened, a silent pact forged in the crucible of danger and beauty. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of farewell as we stepped beyond the forest's edge, the trees whispering their silent goodbyes in rustling leaves. Sarah's hand in mine, we exchanged a wordless acknowledgement of the profound metamorphosis we had undergone. We had not conquered the forest's mysteries, but had become part of its enigmatic tapestry. The experience left an indelible mark, a testament to the alliance between human and nature, where terror and wonder coexisted in the shadows of ancient trees. As we ventured forth, the forest retained its secrets, a repository of untold tales that would forever linger in our hearts. In that poignant moment of departure, we carried with us the essence of the woods, a reminder of the ethereal bond forged in the dance of shadows and light amidst the ancient guardians of the forest. Story 19. The soft, rhythmic drumming of raindrops on the canvas had been my companion for nights on end, a soothing melody that lulled me into the realm of dreams. But tonight, as the rain whispered its secrets to the earth, a subtle shift in the air hinted at a different tune. The forest around us was ancient, its depths shrouded in mystery and magic, and tonight it seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Beside me, my wife Sarah slept serenely, her breath a gentle counterpoint to the symphony of the night. I lay awake, entranced by the flickering shadows that danced across the tent, cast by the dying embers of our fire. The wild had always been our sanctuary, a refuge from the hustle of the world beyond. But tonight it felt like the balance was askew, like a painting hung crooked on the wall of time. The first sign of disturbance was subtle, a shift in the chorus of crickets that had serenaded us since dusk. Their song didn't fade gradually, it simply ceased, leaving a void in the night's melody. In that quietude, new sounds emerged, the hushed rustle of pine needles under careful steps, the deliberate parting of branches. My heart beat steadily, but my senses sharpened, attuned to every whisper of movement outside our shelter. Sarah stirred slightly, and I placed a calming hand on her shoulder, a silent plea for stillness. She, with her intuitive nature, understood without words, even in her half-slumber. Through the thin veil of our tent, I glimpsed shifting shadows, not the swaying of branches in the wind, but purposeful movements. Figures passed by, their silhouettes hinting at burdens carried, elongated and heavy. In the pale moonlight filtering through the canopy, metal gleamed momentarily. Sarah's hand sought mine in the darkness, her grip steady, a silent reassurance. We had traversed enough trails to know that such coordinated movements belonged not to creatures of the wild, but to beings of intention. These were not fellow wanderers taking a nocturnal stroll. They were something else entirely. Time seemed to stretch like honey as we lay there, scarcely breathing, attuned to the soft footfalls and whispered directives that drifted on the night breeze. The voices were low, indistinct, but their purpose rang clear. This was no happenstance encounter. These individuals navigated the forest with a precision that bespoke familiarity. And as their sounds receded into the distance, Sarah squeezed my hand in a pattern, 3 times, our signal for action. We had a language of touch, honed through years of shared adventures, a means of communication in the silence of the wild. With practiced movements, we slipped from our sleeping bags, every motion deliberate and soundless. Each shift of fabric seemed magnified in the stillness of the night, but we moved with the patience of shadows. Panic would betray us, calmness would shield us. Through a gap in the tent's entrance, I observed beams of light weaving through the trees, receding but not far enough for comfort. Their trajectory was purposeful, deeper into the forest where the terrain grew rugged, the vegetation dense. Sarah tapped my shoulder twice, then thrice, signaling a presence behind us. The scent of tobacco wafted in, carried on the damp air, alerting us to our unseen visitor. We froze, melding with the shadows within our shelter as the smoker's steps approached, unhurried, confident. They passed mere feet from our camp, the crunch of leaves underfoot a harsh whisper in the night. The ember of their cigarette painted a malevolent glow on our tent wall, a fleeting glimpse of an intruding world. When the footsteps faded, Sarah and I moved with a shared resolve. Our gear had been packed light for this excursion, a boon now as we gathered essentials in silence. Water, provisions, first aid supplies, compass, all secured with practiced efficiency. The sleeping bags remained, too cumbersome, too loud. The rain resumed, a cloak of obscurity veiling our departure. We slid from the tent like specters, our dark attire melding with the night's embrace. Beneath our boots, the forest floor yielded softly, muffling our progress as we moved away from our sight, opposite the path taken by the mysterious group. In the distance, a generator hummed to life, its mechanical drone a discordant note in the symphony of nature. Light spilled behind us, illuminating the treetops in artificial day. Voices carried on the wind, no longer subdued, no longer concealing their intent. We navigated through the underbrush, drawing on every skill learned in the wild, Sarah leading, guided by an instinct honed by years of exploration. The rain masked our movements but made each step treacherous, a delicate dance between haste and silence. A new sound pierced the night, the rhythmic thump-thump-thump of helicopter blades. The craft hovered low, its search beams sweeping the forest canopy. We pressed against a mighty cedar, its bark rough against our backs as the light passed overhead. The presence of the helicopter affirmed our unspoken fears. This was no chance encounter, no minor disruption. Hours slipped by as we wove through the darkness, the drone of the generator fading, yet the sensation of pursuit lingered. Every snapped twig, every rustle in the undergrowth hinted at imminent discovery. Our playground of old now resembled a labyrinth with unseen perils lurking at every turn. At dawn, we found ourselves miles from our camp, weary but alive. The mist of early morning wove ghostly shapes among the trees, and the birdsong heralded the new day. Resting briefly, we shared a meager ration of water and sustenance, backs against a fallen log. Sarah consulted our compass, confirming our descent from the higher ground where we had crossed paths with the enigmatic group. Bruises adorned our limbs, souvenirs of our silent flight through the night. To this day, I ponder the secrets left behind in those woods. Our tent likely stands still, a sentinel in a clearing that harbors more mysteries than we can fathom. Sometimes on quiet nights when rain taps at our window, I am transported back to that moment when the night held its breath. We never spoke of what we witnessed. How could we? Our presence in that uncharted wilderness defied explanation. The armed figures, the helicopter, the generator's thrum. These were secrets better left to the forest, shrouded in rain and shadow, shared only in whispers between two souls who understand the power of silence. The call of the wild beckons still, but we answer with caution. Our camping ventures are now marked by thorough research, adherence to designated trails, and a keen ear for the song of the crickets. When that song falls silent, we move. Some lessons become etched in our very bones, as intrinsic as breath, as essential as the hush of night. Story 20. The soft patter of rain on our tent's walls created a gentle lullaby as I lay cocooned in my sleeping bag, Sarah's rhythmic breathing a comforting presence beside me. This remote campsite, carefully chosen for its tranquil seclusion, offered us a sanctuary far removed from the bustling world. The surrounding pine forest held the moisture in the air, enveloping our temporary haven with the earthy perfume of damp soil and fragrant needles. Despite the soothing ambiance, a restlessness lingered within me, keeping sleep at bay. Perhaps it was the play of shadows dancing across the tent ceiling, cast by our flickering lantern. Or maybe it was the eerie silence that had replaced the usual nocturnal symphony of chirping crickets. Sarah shifted in her sleep, murmuring softly, oblivious to the unease that gripped me. I marveled at her ability to slumber so peacefully, envying the tranquility she found amidst the wilderness. Earlier that day, we had trekked through the rugged terrain, carrying our burdens of camping essentials on our backs, determined to reach this secluded oasis for our 3-day escape. The arduous journey had led us to a picturesque clearing, embraced by ancient pines and serenaded by the gentle melody of a nearby stream. In the dark of night, a twig snapped, causing me to tense, straining my ears to decipher the source of the sound. Beneath the steady rain, there were faint footsteps, deliberate and cautious, encircling our camp. While logic whispered that it could be a curious deer or a foraging raccoon, an ominous feeling prickled at my senses. The lantern flickered, its waning light casting elongated shadows within our shelter. With a silent resolve, I reached for my phone, its glow revealing that midnight had passed. Devoid of any signal in this remote haven we had sought for its isolation. Another snap, closer this time, followed by hushed whispers that wormed their way into our tent. I gently roused Sarah from her slumber, and as she stirred, I hushed her, pointing towards the tent wall where shadows loomed ominously. The slow, deliberate footsteps outside continued their haunting circuit, accompanied by muted conversations that resonated with an unsettling urgency. These were no ordinary forest sounds. They bore the weight of something darker, a presence that sent shivers down my spine. Sarah's hand sought mine in the dimness, the grip tight with unspoken apprehension. The solitude we had sought now felt suffocating, our isolation becoming a trap as we realized the vulnerability of our predicament. The footsteps paused near the entrance of our tent, their looming shadows visible through the thin fabric. Motionless figures stood outside, their intentions veiled in the darkness, deliberating their next move. Sarah's grip tightened, a silent plea for safety in the face of impending danger. Our car lay miles away at the trailhead, the nearest help even further beyond reach. The intruders' flashlights pierced the night, rummaging through our belongings outside, a violation of our sanctuary. Zippers slid open slowly, punctuated by whispered exchanges that hinted at a malevolent purpose. My mind raced through strategies, options dwindling as fear gripped our hearts. A metallic click echoed from outside, a harbinger of potential danger, propelling us into action. With trembling hands, we began to loosen the tent stakes at the rear, a painstaking effort to slip away unnoticed. Sarah mirrored my movements, the rain masking the faint sounds of our escape. As the stakes gave way, a sense of urgency gripped us, our window of opportunity narrowing with each passing moment. A realization dawned with chilling clarity. These were not mere thieves, but something far more sinister. I gestured for Sarah to lead, guiding her through the small opening we had created. She glided like a wraith, blending into the night as I followed suit, heart pounding in my ears. As we crouched behind the tent, the intruders' heavy boots loomed just beyond, their presence a looming threat. They lingered at the entrance, unaware of our absence, engrossed in their malevolent intent. With bated breath, we retreated, inch by inch, the rain masking our movements as we sought refuge in the shadows of the forest. Their flashlight beams swept over our former campsite, a frantic search for their vanished prey. We crawled, silent and swift, the rain-drenched earth beneath us, a cold reminder of our vulnerability. The pursuit intensified, their cries of frustration piercing the night as they discovered our escape. Abandoning caution, we ran, our flight fueled by primal fear and the desperation for survival. The treacherous terrain challenged our resolve, the darkness cloaking our path as we fled deeper into the wilderness. Branches clawed at our skin, the mud threatening to betray our steps as we hurtled downhill, driven by an instinctual need to outrun our pursuers. Our lungs burned, our bodies pushed beyond their limits, until we finally halted, seeking refuge behind a colossal tree trunk. In the hush of the forest, broken only by the soft patter of breath, our bodies trembling with exhaustion and adrenaline. The pursuit had ceased, the forest reclaiming its eerie silence. As the dawn crept through the canopy, casting a pallid light upon our sheltered alcove, we assessed our situation. A logging road beckoned in the distance, a beacon of hope amidst the aftermath of our harrowing escape. We left behind our abandoned belongings, a small sacrifice in exchange for our lives. The authorities' investigation yielded no resolution, dismissing our ordeal as a routine case of wilderness theft. Yet the memories lingered, haunting us in the dead of night, the phantom echoes of footsteps and whispers a chilling reminder of that fateful encounter. Sarah and I have since shunned the allure of camping excursions, the shadows of that night casting a long shadow over our adventurous spirits. The wilderness, once a realm of solace and wonder, now harbors unseen perils, lurking in the darkness, waiting for unsuspecting souls. While the call of nature still beckons, we tread cautiously, mindful of the hidden dangers that lie beneath its tranquil facade. Some experiences leave scars that transcend the physical, etching their mark upon the soul, forever altering our perception of the world around us. Story 21, The Night's Watch. The gentle hum of fluorescent lights accompanied my steps as I navigated the silent expanse of the office building. Embracing the role of night security guard, I found solace in the tranquility that enveloped the space post-sunset. The 20-story structure, a blend of glass and steel, stood tall and proud, its windows reflecting the moon's soft glow, resembling countless watchful eyes. These late hours were my sanctuary, a time to wander through the labyrinth of cubicles and meeting rooms, ensuring all was secure. The building had a personality of its own at night. The whisper of the ventilation system, the occasional creak of settling walls, and the distant heartbeat of the city outside our walls harmonized into a melodic symphony that calmed me. On that particular night, the routine began as always. I clocked in at 11, grabbed my trusty flashlight and keycard, and embarked on my initial patrol. The lobby's marble floors echoed faintly beneath my feet as I strolled past the security desk towards the bank of elevators. The screens displaying various camera feeds cast a soothing blue light across the polished surface, creating mesmerizing patterns that danced with my every step. The first few floors yielded no surprises. I meticulously checked each door, marked my checkpoints, and stayed in contact with central dispatch via radio. The familiar ritual brought a sense of comfort, akin to navigating a familiar forest trail. Yet a subtle shift in the building's ambiance lingered that night, an indefinable change that kept me on edge. Upon reaching the 7th floor, a flicker of curiosity stirred within me. A solitary desk lamp illuminated the darkness, its warm glow a stark contrast to the usual emptiness. Approaching cautiously, I recognized the desk belonging to Margaret from accounting. Her family photos and ceramic cat collection were unmistakable. However, Margaret was meticulous about turning off her lamp, making this deviation puzzling. As I reached towards the switch, a hesitation gripped me. Recent activity was evident on her desk. Slightly disheveled papers, a chair pushed back at an angle, a still warm coffee cup. A subtle quickening of my pulse ensued, though I maintained a composed facade. The security logs indicated no authorized access to this floor for hours. A soft crackle from my radio startled me momentarily, but it was merely static, a common occurrence in certain areas of the building. Despite the lack of response from dispatch, I relayed the anomaly, planning to note the radio dead zone in my report later. Continuing my rounds, further irregularities emerged. On the 10th floor, a copier whirred away, printing blank pages that fluttered to the ground like autumn leaves. The microwave in the 12th floor break room incessantly displayed an end message, though its interior remained empty. Each discovery intensified my unease, like delicate strokes painting a picture I hesitated to comprehend. The executive offices on the 14th floor, with their panoramic city views, harbored another peculiar occurrence. A shadow flitted between the offices, fleeting yet distinct. Engaging my training, I remained vigilant, senses heightened. The ventilation system's rhythm here seemed amplified, carrying murmured conversations that teased my ears. Almost discernible words floated in the air, just beyond comprehension, akin to a radio station slightly out of tune. An electric charge permeated the atmosphere, raising the hairs on my arms. Advancing cautiously, I methodically checked each office, my flashlight beam revealing vacant spaces. However, the glass wall's reflections created an illusion of infinite mirrors, warping my perception. Every movement seemed duplicated, shadows multiplying until the space felt crowded with spectral activity. In the CEO's corner office, another desk lamp glowed ominously, casting eerie shadows across the opulent decor. A laptop hummed softly, its screen displaying an unfinished email with a timestamp of 11:47 p.m., an hour past the building's clearance and lockdown. My radio crackled once more, emitting tones that almost formed a pattern. Despite my attempts to contact dispatch, the persistent static remained my only companion. The security system should have detected any unauthorized entry, yet the evidence of recent activity was irrefutable. The elevator chimed behind me, its bell piercing the silence. Turning, I watched the floor indicator above the doors change steadily. 12, 13, 14. Fixated, I aimed my flashlight at the open elevator, revealing scuff marks as if something heavy had been dragged inside. The panel displayed a random selection of lit-up floors, 16, 18, 20 basement. As the doors began to close, I instinctively backed away, opting for the stairs. Descending the concrete stairwell, my footsteps reverberated, each echo distorted. I listened intently for any sign of movement above or below. The emergency lights cast eerie shadows that seemed to move independently. Reaching the lobby, I encountered the security desk monitors displaying static, their faint hiss merging with the building's nocturnal chorus. My keycard failed at the front desk, the once green light now an angry red flash. Despite the assumed backup systems, the building remained eerily silent, as if holding its breath. Through the lobby's glass walls, my patrol car sat in the distance, the path to the exit stretching infinitely. Approaching the doors, my radio crackled to life one final time. Amidst the static, a voice emerged, unmistakably mine, reciting the night's security log. Frozen in place, I heard myself detailing events yet to unfold. The voice narrated patrols on floors I had yet to reach, incidents I had yet to uncover, and finally, my current location in the lobby, listening to a non-existent transmission. A flicker of darkness enveloped the lobby as the lights momentarily dimmed. Upon their return, I glimpsed figures reflected in the glass walls, phantom silhouettes peering from the offices above, barely visible against the night sky. Moving in unison, they pressed against the windows, observing. It dawned on me then that my true watch had begun. The building stirred from its slumber, signaling a long night ahead, laden with enigmas waiting to be unraveled. At times, I ponder if I ever departed, or if I linger still, patrolling those silent halls endlessly, my whispers blending with the building's nocturnal choir. Come morning, the security desk was occupied, the monitors functional, the logs updated. Yet, the guard on duty wasn't me, though uncannily resembling me, from the name tag to the way he held his flashlight. Observing him from behind the glass walls, I watch as he traverses the quiet building, oblivious to the vigilant eyes that comprehend all too well the path ahead. Story 22. The soft purr of my truck's engine had been my sole companion for the past 12 hours. Rain gently tapped against the windshield, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with the rhythmic swish of my wipers. The night sprawled endlessly ahead, my headlights piercing the misty darkness of the secluded highway. These solitary drives always brought me peace. The subtle hum of the steering wheel beneath my hands, the warm glow of dashboard lights, and the occasional glint of reflective signs marking the passing miles. The truck's cab was my sanctuary, gliding through the obscurity like a vessel on a tranquil sea. On that particular evening, the air held a peculiar thickness, pregnant with anticipation. The nearly full moon played peekaboo behind drifting clouds, casting ever-changing shadows on the deserted road. A faint hum from the radio filled the cab, serenading me with old country tunes that ebbed and flowed like distant memories. In my side mirror, a figure emerged from the darkness. A lone individual standing by the roadside, thumb extended in the universal hitchhiking gesture. Over my 15 years of driving, I had encountered numerous such figures, but there was something about this one that made me ease off the gas pedal. Perhaps it was the stillness of the night, or the strange melancholy that had settled over me during the long hours of solitude. Whatever the reason, I found myself pulling over, the truck's air brakes releasing a soft sigh as we came to a halt. The figure approached slowly, gradually coming into focus in my side mirror. A man in a weathered suit, clutching only a small leather briefcase. His face bore a familiar gentleness, though we had never crossed paths. "Evening," he greeted softly as he settled into the passenger seat. His voice carried a distant timbre, reminiscent of music drifting from another room. "Thank you for stopping." A scent unfamiliar to me, a blend of aged books and autumn leaves, filled the cab as my new passenger sat motionless, the briefcase resting on his lap, hands folded neatly atop it. In the dim light, I observed the vintage cut of his suit, reminiscent of bygone eras captured in photographs. "Where are you headed?" I inquired as I merged back onto the desolate highway. "Forward," he responded with a faint smile. always forward. We traveled in serene silence, the rain painting intricate patterns on the windows. The stranger's presence was both disconcerting and strangely natural, akin to a dream whose reality eludes you. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something peculiar. When the moonlight caressed him just so, his outline shimmered, like heat waves rising from a sun-soaked pavement. Yet when I turned to gaze directly, he appeared solid and unremarkable. "You've been driving this route for a long time," he remarked. It was not a question. 15 years, I confirmed, puzzled by his insight. "I've seen you pass," he nodded. "Many nights, many roads, always cautious, always kind to fellow travelers." A shiver traced down my spine, despite the cab's warmth. In my mirrors, headlights emerged in the distance behind us, swiftly growing larger. "We have company," my passenger stated calmly. "They've been trailing me for quite some time." The approaching vehicle rapidly closed in, its blinding high beams flooding the cab with harsh light. My passenger remained unperturbed, though his grip on the briefcase tightened slightly. "I apologize for involving you in this," he murmured softly, "but perhaps it's not entirely by chance that you stopped tonight." The pursuing vehicle was almost upon us, its engine roaring. Instead of racing, my heart was cloaked in an unexpected tranquility. The stranger beside me exuded a serene energy that seemed to envelop the entire cab. "Take the next turn," he suggested gently. "The old logging road." Without hesitation, I veered onto the narrow dirt path that I had passed countless times but never ventured down. The truck's headlights revealed towering trees crowding on either side, their branches casting eerie shadows that danced along our path. The other vehicle sailed past the turnoff, its lights vanishing into the distance. The engine's growl faded, replaced by the soft patter of rain on the canopy above. "Time is a peculiar thing," my passenger pondered, unlatching his briefcase. Inside, a soft, pearl-like luminescence emanated from something within. "Some say it flows like a river, forever forward. Yet, rivers boast many branches, many paths leading to the same sea." He shut the briefcase, and I suddenly realized we had stopped moving, though I could not recall applying the brakes. The engine hummed softly, and rain tapped rhythmically on the roof. "Thank you for the ride," he expressed, reaching for the door handle, "and for all the rides you'll offer to those who need them most." Before I could respond, he stepped out into the rain. I watched him stroll away from the truck, his form gradually dissipating in the darkness. For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw him evaporate entirely, like mist under the morning sun. But that couldn't be true, could it? I sat there for an extended span, listening to the rain and the gentle rumble of my engine. When I eventually shifted the truck into gear and turned around, I found myself back on the main highway, though the journey back remained hazy in my memory. The remainder of my drive unfolded uneventfully, yet something had shifted. The solitude now carried a different essence, charged with potential. Occasionally I catch glimpses of something in my mirrors, a familiar figure by the roadside, or a well-worn briefcase catching the light just right. And sometimes, on nights when the moon plays hide-and-seek with the clouds, I ponder my enigmatic passenger and the other travelers navigating through the darkness, each following their unique tributary of the river. Even now, years later, I can never be entirely certain if that night was a dream. But sometimes, when I'm driving solo and the rain is falling softly and steadily, I catch that scent once more. Old books and autumn leaves. And I sense that somewhere out there, my passenger continues his journey, always forward, always in search of kind souls willing to share their path, if only for a brief moment. Story 23. The soft patter of raindrops tapping against the windows enveloped me in a soothing embrace as I settled into the plush armchair, my tablet cradled in my lap. Little Tommy had drifted off to sleep an hour earlier, his gentle breaths mingling with the nighttime stillness that settled over the house during my babysitting watch. The parents were out for the evening, not due back for another 3 hours, leaving me with ample time to lose myself in the pages of my latest read. The warm glow of the table lamp painted cozy shadows across the living room, while the low hum of the heating system cocooned me in a tranquil bubble of peace. I had been looking after Tommy for half a year now, every other Friday night following the same routine. He would immerse himself in video games until 8. We would share a comforting cup of hot chocolate with fluffy marshmallows, and then it was time for bedtime tales until his eyelids grew heavy. However, this particular evening had taken a slightly unexpected turn. Tommy appeared preoccupied during our hot chocolate ritual, his fingers fidgeting with his gaming tablet well past the usual gaming hours. When I inquired, he casually mentioned chatting with a new friend from his favorite game. There was a subtle shift in his tone that gave me pause, but I dismissed it as mere childhood excitement over a virtual pal. The rain outside intensified, drawing my gaze to the window. Water droplets raced down the glass, casting ethereal patterns on the wall in the dim light of the street lamp. Suddenly, a notification chimed from Tommy's forgotten tablet resting on the coffee table, piercing through the rhythmic drumming of the rainfall. Normally, I would have ignored it, but his earlier behavior tugged at my instincts. With a sense of unease creeping in, I reached for the tablet and glimpsed a message from someone named Game Master 2024. The preview displayed the ominous beginning. "I'm outside your house now. Remember our secret?" A wave of calm washed over me, years of babysitting experience and safety training guiding my next steps. With deliberate movements, I picked up the tablet and delved into the chat history. What unfolded before me was a meticulously crafted grooming scheme spanning weeks. This game master had been methodically building trust, offering in-game rewards, and slowly extracting personal details about Tommy. His routine, his address, even his babysitting schedule. Though the messages wore a facade of friendliness, the underlying predatory intent was starkly evident to my adult eyes. Moving through the house with measured precision, I checked and double-checked all locks on doors and windows. The security system's reassuring green light blinked in the corner, yet I took no chances. Upstairs, the soft rhythm of Tommy's breathing hummed through the baby monitor, a peaceful slumberer, blissfully unaware of the looming danger in his virtual realm. A shadow flitted across the front window, but instead of fear, a profound sense of serenity settled within me. Having studied cybersecurity in college, my phone was already silently documenting and uploading every detail to secure cloud storage. Through a discreet panic app, law enforcement had been discreetly summoned, and I knew they were en route. The doorbell rang, its chime muted by the rain-soaked atmosphere within the house. Glancing at the security camera feed on my phone, I watched as a figure appeared on the porch, clutching what seemed to be a gaming console box, the special gift promised in the chat logs. Bathed in the porch light, a man in his 30s stood, a forced smile failing to reach his eyes. I stood in the shadows of the living room, observing silently through my phone as police vehicles stealthily arrived, their lights extinguished. Recognition dawned on the man's face as he sensed something awry, but it was too late. Officers emerged from the darkness like silent protectors, materializing from the rain-swept night. Later, after Tommy's parents had returned and the authorities concluded their investigation, I found myself back in the armchair, rain still whispering outside. The house felt altered, not violated or foreboding, but fortified. The night held no threat, only a calm assurance of averted peril. Tommy would need guidance in comprehending the event, learning why his online companion was no true friend at all. That conversation would come in due time, with professional aid and parental support. For now, he slept soundly above, his dreams untouched by the danger narrowly escaped. The experience left me with a profound connection to all the guardians out there, parents, caretakers, educators, standing watchful against those who prey on innocence. The rain continued its gentle lullaby, and I remained vigilant, a silent sentinel in the night. Sometimes, the most crucial battles are won not through force or conflict, but through vigilance, readiness, and composed determination. As dawn broke, the rain had ceased, leaving behind a cleansed world. Tommy's gaming tablet sat innocuous on the table, its screen dark and unassuming. Yet the shadows of the virtual realm now held a deeper knowledge for me, a readiness born of awareness. We, united in strength, had turned the tables on the predator, offering protection, community, and a fierce love for the children under our care. The morning sun stretched long shadows through the windows, devoid of darkness, promising a new day filled with the resolve to safeguard our young ones in both the physical and digital domains. Story 24. The soft patter of rain against the aged wood created a tranquil symphony as I gazed at the Victorian mansion, my camera hanging heavily around my neck. The fading light of late afternoon filtered through dense clouds, casting gentle shadows over the elaborate facade. Beside me stood my companions in urban exploration, Sarah and Marcus, their breath forming wisps in the crisp autumn air. "Let's remember our agreement," I murmured, the words more for my own reassurance than for theirs. "We capture every moment, but we honor this space." The ancient house seemed to acknowledge our presence, its time-worn structure murmuring softly in the breeze. With surprising ease, the front door swung open, its rusty hinges whispering a welcome rather than a protest. Stepping inside, we were embraced by the fragrance of old books and cedar, a comforting mustiness that hinted at the countless memories cradled within these walls. Our steps were muffled by the plush carpet, its deep burgundy hue remarkably preserved despite years of neglect. Sarah glided towards the grand staircase, her fingers trailing along the smooth mahogany banister. "The craftsmanship here is exquisite," she breathed, her voice a mere whisper in the hushed ambience. Meanwhile, Marcus was engrossed in documenting the intricate crown molding with his camera, the soft click of his shutter blending seamlessly into the house's gentle melody. In the parlor, time seemed to ebb and flow at its own pace. Dust motes waltzed in the beams of light that filtered through the lace curtains, creating ethereal patterns in the air. A majestic piano stood in the corner, its keys a gradient of ivory and shadow. As I neared it, a solitary note reverberated through the room, pure and haunting, though none of us had touched the keys. "Did you hear that?" Marcus inquired, his voice a mixture of calm curiosity. Sarah nodded in wonder rather than alarm, the sound beckoning us further into the mansion's embrace. The library boasted shelves upon shelves of books, their leather spines weaving a tapestry of muted colors along the walls. Upon closer inspection, I noticed a peculiar arrangement. The books seemed to be organized not by conventional means, but in intricate patterns that captivated the eye. Some formations hinted at letters or symbols when viewed from specific angles. As we ascended to the second floor, the temperature gradually dipped, yet it was a welcome coolness, akin to stepping into a serene garden on a summer evening. The wallpaper here unfolded stories through its intricate designs, flowers blooming and fading as we passed, vines seeming to sway and grow in our peripheral vision. In what appeared to be the master bedroom, a mirror caught our attention. The reflections within seemed to move a fraction delayed from our actions, occasionally revealing shadowy figures in the background, graceful and observant rather than menacing. "Come see this," Sarah beckoned softly from a corner. A writing desk cradled an open journal, its pages adorned with elegant script. The ink appeared fresh, defying all logic. As we watched in awe, words materialized on the blank page before us. "Welcome, gentle visitors. Few behold the beauty in what others fear." The writing dissolved slowly, like mist dissipating in the morning sun. In that moment of shared silence, we understood that we were not mere intruders, but cherished guests in a realm where reality's rules held little sway. The attic unfurled a treasure trove of bygone memories. Trunks filled with Victorian garments exhaled a lavender scent when opened. Photographs in silver frames depicted faces that seemed to smile knowingly at us, their eyes brimming with secrets they longed to divulge, if only we knew how to ask. As twilight descended, we descended as well, retracing our path downstairs. The mansion's aura had shifted subtly, not darker, but deeper, more intimate. The lengthening shadows felt protective rather than ominous. Each room seemed to bid us farewell in its unique way. A gentle breeze here, a melodic chime there, the quiet creak of floorboards mimicking our footsteps. In the foyer, our scattered equipment bags had been neatly arranged by the door, a small wooden box resting atop mine. Its surface was etched with intricate geometric patterns. Inside, we discovered 3 antique keys, each a work of art in its own right. The front door swung open effortlessly for our departure, revealing a world cloaked in the hues of a setting sun, the rain having ceased its gentle lullaby. The keys nestled in our pockets radiated warmth, a gentle reminder of our chosen path and the mansion's silent invitation. Glancing back at the abode, I glimpsed movement behind an upper window, a fluttering curtain, or perhaps something more elusive. The house had shared many secrets with us, yet retained others. Some enigmas, I realized, were meant to be felt rather than solved. That night, as I perused our photographs, a wondrous revelation unfolded. Each image bore hidden details unseen during our exploration. A phantom figure in Victorian attire vanishing around a corner, ethereal handprints on the walls, spectral faces smiling benevolently in window reflections. Rather than instill fear, these discoveries ushered forth a profound tranquility, a certainty that certain places straddle the realms of reality and dreams. The mansion was not haunted in the conventional sense. It pulsed with memories, narratives, and the quiet resonance of myriad lives entwined within its walls. Drifting into slumber, I still heard the gentle creak of its floors, the distant melody of the untouched piano, knowing we would return not as seekers of the supernatural, but as honored guests in a domain where magic lingered in the quiet recesses of the world. The keys bestowed upon us remained a tangible reminder that some doors, once unlocked, never fully close. Perhaps they were never meant to. Ultimately, we did not unearth a haunted abode. We discovered a living sanctuary, a place that elected to share its magic with those who approached with reverence and awe rather than trepidation. Story 25. The soft patter of raindrops against the windows set a tranquil rhythm as I sank into the luxurious armchair in the cozy living room. The gentle glow from my laptop bathed the room in a faint light, casting dancing shadows on the walls. It was my 3rd night looking after the Hendersons' house, with young Tommy peacefully asleep upstairs. These quiet evening hours held a certain magic, as if the house itself whispered soothing lullabies. The occasional creak of the floorboards and the rustle of leaves outside had become like old friends during my time here. The modern marvel of a smart home maintained the perfect temperature, yet at times I felt a mysterious chill that seemed to drift from unseen corners. My focus shifted to a notification on my laptop. Tommy had left his tablet downstairs, still connected to the home's Wi-Fi network. An icon indicated active internet usage, prompting me to check the parental control dashboard provided by Mrs. Henderson. To my surprise, Tommy's tablet displayed ongoing activity on a chat app. My heart quickened, not out of fear but concern. Tommy should have been fast asleep by now. The screen revealed he was chatting with someone named Midnight Friend. The username struck me as peculiar for a child's companion. Rising from the armchair, I ascended the stairs, avoiding the familiar creak of the 3rd step. The carpet hushed my steps as I approached Tommy's room, finding him peacefully slumbering under his cosmic blanket. Returning downstairs, I delved deeper into the chat logs. Initially innocent conversations about games and school took a disturbing turn as Midnight Friend asked probing questions about Tommy's routine, his parents' whereabouts, and the house's location. A message popped up. "Is Tommy asleep yet? I'd like to join him for some games." Unsure how to respond, I heard the soft chime of the smart doorbell, revealing an empty porch through its screen. Just the rain, I reassured myself, though a chill crept over me. Another message appeared. "I'm closer than you think. Let's give Tommy a surprise together." The house's systems hummed softly around me. A security alert on my phone indicated movement in the backyard. The camera feed showed only darkness and rain, yet the deliberate rustling of bushes hinted at something amiss. Activating the security system, I watched as confirmation lights blinked across sensors. The tablet chimed once more. "Why are you doing this? I just want to play. Don't you trust me?" The kitchen lights flickered briefly. An attempted breach of the Wi-Fi network sent a shiver down my spine. Maintaining composure, I began disconnecting devices, plunging the house into silence. Only my phone and laptop remained online, both on cellular data. A faint thud echoed from upstairs, followed by a soft creak of floorboards. My pulse raced as I checked the indoor camera feed. Tommy slept soundly, yet a shadow moved in the hallway, a presence that sent a chill down my spine. The laptop screen flickered with a new message. "You can't keep me out forever. Tommy shared all the passwords with me weeks ago." Rain continued its gentle serenade against the windows as I dialed the police, my voice steady. They assured me help was on the way, detecting the suspicious activity through the home's security protocols. In the aftermath, cybersecurity experts uncovered an elaborate scheme targeting smart homes, with Midnight Friend's digital trail vanishing into the ether. Tommy's family bolstered their security measures and revamped their passwords. Tommy received new guidelines on online safety. Life resumed its rhythm, albeit with a lingering sense of vigilance. On quiet nights of babysitting, I find myself scrutinizing the security feeds with newfound intensity. And on those nights when the rain falls just so and the house falls into silence, I wonder if Midnight Friend still lurks in the shadows, waiting for another chance to play their dangerous game. The modern world has woven convenience and connectivity into our homes, yet it has also unveiled new shadows for threats to hide in, blurring the line between friend and foe like rain on a misted window. Sometimes the most perilous games are the ones we unknowingly partake in until the stakes are nearly too high. Story 26. The rain cascaded in a torrent against the windshield as I maneuvered along the twisting forest path. Beside me, Sarah fidgeted, her fingers tapping anxiously on the dashboard. Hours had slipped away as we sought refuge from the sudden storm that had engulfed our weekend escape. Through the rain-smeared glass, a glimpse of a wooden abode nestled amidst the trees caught my eye. The headlights revealed a modest cabin, its aged wood bearing the marks of time and weather. A sheltered porch encircled the front, beckoning us with the promise of a brief respite from the relentless deluge. "Look," I murmured, reluctant to disrupt the hypnotic symphony of raindrops. "We should pause here until the storm abates." Sarah nodded, a mix of relief and apprehension flickering across her face in the dim dashboard glow. I guided our vehicle onto the gravel driveway, the stones whispering softly under the tires. The engine's hum faded into silence, leaving only the soothing patter of rain on the roof. We lingered for a moment, observing the water cascade off the cabin's eaves in shimmering veils. As we approached the front door, the porch creaked beneath our weight. A weathered brass knocker hung slightly askew, showing signs of age. To our surprise, the door yielded to a gentle push, swinging inward with a mournful groan. The air that wafted out carried the nostalgic scent of aged timber and bygone memories. "Hello?" Sarah's voice, barely above a whisper, pierced the quiet. Only the rain answered in hushed tones. Inside, our flashlights unveiled a solitary room adorned with humble rustic furnishings. A stoic stone fireplace dominated one wall, its hearth empty and cold. A time-worn leather armchair faced the dormant embers, as if awaiting its absent owner's return. The air hung heavy with tranquility, disturbed solely by our subdued breaths. I discovered some candles in a drawer and ignited them, their warm flicker casting dancing shadows around the room. The flames flickered in the window panes, conjuring an illusion of distant lights in the enveloping darkness. Sarah nestled into the armchair while I ventured to explore our ephemeral sanctuary. A series of aged photographs adorned the mantel, their subjects' visages faded into sepia specters. In one frame, a somber family stood before the cabin, their expressions solemn and devoid of smiles. The date inscribed on the back read Summer 1962. Another photograph depicted the same cabin, yet something about the perspective seemed amiss, as if capturing an alternate structure altogether. The rain continued its melodic serenade on the rooftop as we settled in. Sarah had found a woolen blanket, enveloping herself in its warmth, her eyes drooping with weariness. I settled onto the modest sofa, attuned to the wind's whispers outside. It was then that I espied the footprints. Emerging from beneath the kitchen counter, they left dark imprints on the wooden floorboards. The tracks led to the shut door of what I presumed to be a bedroom, then vanished. Fresh and glistening faintly in the candlelight, they quickened my pulse, though I maintained a composed tone. "Sarah, did you venture through there earlier?" She shook her head slowly, her gaze trailing to the enigmatic imprints. "I haven't budged from this chair." The wind intensified, causing the cabin's timbers to groan. Shadows danced and shifted as the candle flames quivered. I rose cautiously, inching towards the bedroom door. The icy brass handle chilled my fingertips. The door swung open effortlessly, revealing a small room furnished with a solitary bed. The adjacent window stood ajar, its curtains billowing gently in the nocturnal breeze. Yet it wasn't the window that captivated me. It was the countless photographs adorning every inch of the walls. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, each immortalizing the cabin from slightly varied angles. In some it stood pristine and new. In others it appeared weathered and dilapidated. However, in every image, a subtle discordance lingered. A misaligned window, a phantom door, the porch stretching impossibly far into the abyss. Sarah materialized by my side, her complexion pallid in the candle's glow. "Inspect the dates," she murmured. Each photograph bore a date, inscribed in identical meticulous penmanship. Spanning decades, the most recent was marked with yesterday's date. Yet it defied logic. The handwriting remained consistent across 60 years of snapshots. A floorboard creaked behind us. Turning slowly, our shadows melding with the encroaching darkness, we discerned that the candles in the main room had extinguished, leaving only the one I clutched. Its flame inclined towards the open bedroom window, drawn by an unseen draft. In the main room, the armchair had swiveled to face the bedroom door. The photographs on the mantel had metamorphosed. Our car now featured in them, stationed outside in the rain. And there was something more, something chilling that sent shivers down my spine. A camera perched on the armchair's time-worn leather seat, its lens reflecting the candle's glow like an anticipatory eye. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the muffled cadence of footsteps on the porch outside. They encircled the cabin methodically, purposefully, drawing nearer to the yawning window. Sarah clasped my hand tightly as we stood transfixed in the doorway. The footsteps halted. In the ensuing silence, I discerned the distinct click of a camera shutter. We departed from the cabin that night, forging through the rain until the dawn bathed the sky in hues of gentle rose and gold. We never broached the subject of what we had encountered, of the spectral photographer who chronicled the cabin's impossible metamorphoses. Occasionally, on rainy nights, I ponder that leather armchair, eternally awaiting in the shadows, I muse about the subsequent wanderers who might seek solace there, oblivious to stepping into another photograph, another rendition of that ceaseless cabin. And at times, as I peruse old photographs, I catch myself scanning for that familiar wooden structure, partially concealed among the foliage. I wonder if somewhere within someone's trove of enigmatic photographs, there exists an image of Sarah and me, ensnared in that bedroom threshold, ensnared between one reality and another. The rain persists, and somewhere in the woods a camera shutter clicks in the obscurity. Story 27. In the tranquil hum of my car engine, I journeyed alone through the veils of midnight. The headlights pierced the dense fog that draped over the desolate highway, crafting a mystical tunnel of gentle, diffused radiance. A serene calm enveloped me amidst the solitude, observing the white road lines slip by like a mesmerizing trance. A subtle shift in the engine's cadence signaled the first hint of discord. A faint pause, almost imperceptible at first, akin to a singer missing a solitary note in a familiar melody. Attentively, I tuned in, my hands delicately resting on the wheel as I eased my speed. The dashboard lights cast their usual amber glow, yet a subtle unease lingered. The engine's murmur intensified, evolving into a quiet yet persistent throb. Relief washed over me upon glimpsing the inviting glow of a rest area sign ahead. The soft radiance of overhead lights beckoned, promising refuge and security amidst the encompassing obscurity. Guiding my ailing vehicle into the vacant lot, the tires whispered on the worn asphalt. As I silenced the engine, a heavy quiet settled like a thick shroud. The fog had trailed me into the sanctuary, enveloping the scattered lampposts in ethereal halos. Their illumination birthed pools of warmth in the darkness, yet paradoxically deepened the shadows between them. The air within the car grew heavy with the lingering warmth of the heater and the faint perfume of leather. Reaching for my phone, its soft blue glow cast a gentle sheen upon my face. No signal. As expected. The last cell tower had long faded into the rearview mirror, leaving only the vacant signal icon. The time displayed 2:47 a.m., the digits seeming to hover in the darkness. A movement seized my gaze, a shadow flitting through a pool of light. Breath caught in my throat as I observed, waiting. Nothing. Merely the fog dancing in the nocturnal breeze, playing tricks on my weary eyes. The notion of inspecting the engine loomed, yet the prospect of stepping into that mystical realm outside tingled my skin with trepidation. The door unlatched with a soft click, resonating deafeningly in the stillness. The chill night air swept in, carrying the aroma of moist earth and distant pines. My footsteps reverberated softly as I advanced toward the car's front, each sound rippling into the darkness like stones in a tranquil pond. The hood exuded warmth beneath my touch as I raised it. Wisps of steam ascended delicately, waltzing with the fog before vanishing into the night. Amidst examining the engine, a sound reached my ears. Gentle, calculated footsteps emanating from behind. I pivoted slowly, my heart synchronizing with the measured approach of those phantom strides. Through the fog, a tall figure materialized, traversing the pools of light. Its silhouette morphed and wavered with each passage through the illumination, as if the fog endeavored to bestow its shape. My steps retreated instinctually, noiselessly navigating backward. The figure persisted in its deliberate advance, neither hastening nor decelerating. The frigid metal of the car met my back, the handle pressing into my spine. Silently, the door ajar, or perhaps my pulse too deafening to register the sound. Slipping inside, my quivering fingers secured the lock. The resolute click of the mechanism provided scant solace as I observed the figure drawing closer through the fog-streaked windshield. It traversed another pool of light, briefly revealing a semblance of a visage, or perhaps a mere illusion of the shifting fog. The engine's knock ceased, replaced by the gentle tick of cooling metal and my own shallow breaths. Inserting the key into the ignition, I murmured a silent entreaty to any unseen presence. The engine ignited promptly, purring seamlessly as though no ailment had existed. My headlights pierced the fog, unveiling the figure had vanished, leaving only vacant pools of light and altering shadows. Departing from the rest area, hands steady on the wheel despite my racing heart, a glance in the rearview mirror unveiled a transient sight. The fog obscured the rest area swiftly from view, yet fleetingly, I spied a figure standing on the road, observing my retreat. That image lingered as I traversed the remainder of the night, the engine's gentle purr now a reassuring reminder that I was not solitary in the darkness. On certain nights when I drive late and the mist descends, thoughts drift to the figure at the rest area. A query arises, if it still wanders, pacing amidst pools of light, anticipating another traveler's halt. Occasionally, passing a rest area in the pre-dawn darkness, I fancy glimpsing movement in the fog, shadowing my car until the subsequent pool of light discloses solely vacuous silhouettes. The highway extends onward, a ribbon of asphalt slicing through the night, and I comprehend to persist driving, regardless of fatigue. For at times, the true dread lies not in what chases us, but in the tranquil instants when we decide to halt and confront what lurks in the shadows. Story 28. The rain cascaded in a soft, hypnotic cadence against the worn windows of the deserted mansion. Before me stood its formidable front, my breath forming mist in the chill evening air. The Victorian structure exuded a sense of faded opulence, its elaborate wooden carvings embellishing the eaves and towering windows observing my every gesture. A beam from my flashlight danced over the stone steps leading to the entrance, unveiling patches of plush moss nestled between the crevices. I had always been drawn to forsaken places, yearning to unravel the untold tales veiled within their silent confines. This particular mansion had beckoned to me for weeks, its presence on the fringes of the aged forest district becoming an obsession that permeated my dreams. As a professional photographer specializing in abandoned architecture, I had traversed numerous deserted edifices, yet there was an enigmatic aura surrounding this one. The ancient key, procured from a local antiquity shop, slid effortlessly into the lock, turning with unexpected ease. The door yielded with a melodious low creak that reverberated through the vacant corridors. The foyer enveloped me in the sweet, musty fragrance of aged wood and forsaken reminiscences. My footfalls murmured softly on the marble floor, stirring miniature clouds of dust that pirouetted in the flickering flashlight beam. The grand staircase coiled upwards like a slumbering serpent, its mahogany railing still faintly gleaming beneath years of neglect. As my light swept the walls, I detected the wallpaper, an odd design of intertwined vines and blossoms that appeared to sway and shift within the shadows. The longer I gazed, the more convinced I became that the patterns were gradually morphing, though I rationalized it as a play of light in my own imagination. Advancing into the drawing room, I found myself encircled by furniture cloaked in ghostly white sheets, resembling silent phantoms frozen in timeless discourse. Above the hearth loomed a sizable mirror, its surface obscured by time, yet inexplicably reflecting more light than seemed plausible in the dim expanse. I discerned an unusual aspect in my reflection. It seemed slightly delayed, as if my mirrored image trailed my movements by a fraction of a second. The atmosphere noticeably chilled as I ventured deeper into the mansion. Each chamber harbored its own enigmas, a chess set frozen in mid-game, a book left open on a reading desk, a cup of tea abandoned and turned to dust. It was as though the previous denizens of the house had simply vanished during their daily routines, leaving everything suspended in time. In the library, towering bookshelves lined the walls, laden with leather-bound tomes whose titles had faded into obscurity. Upon closer inspection, I noticed the books were arranged not by author or genre, but in intricate configurations that seemed to form symbols when glimpsed from various angles. Adjacent to a cold hearth sat a leather armchair, beside which rested a crimson leather-bound journal. The journal's pages bore elegant penmanship, yet the words seemed to blur and shift as I endeavored to peruse them. Only fragments remained legible. The house is alive, time moves differently here, and the mirrors remember. A subtle vibration resonated through the floorboards, akin to the heartbeat of a colossal entity nestled deep within the mansion's foundations. Ascending the stairs to the upper level, a faint humming sound became perceptible, hovering at the edge of audibility. The hum seemed to trail me, neither amplifying nor diminishing as I traversed the upper corridors. Each bedroom I explored narrated a distinct tale. A child's chamber with toys meticulously arranged in circles, a master bedroom where the bed appeared freshly slumbered in despite decades of desertion, a music room where the piano keys subtly shifted under their own volition. In a particular chamber, I stumbled upon a trove of photographs, spanning several eras. The same family featured in all the images, posed before the mansion. In each successive photo, the family members remained unaltered, while the world surrounding them aged. The final photograph solely depicted the mansion itself, the family conspicuously absent, yet their shadows lingered on the ground. The sun had commenced its descent, though I had failed to note the passage of time. The mansion's windows now emanated a gentle amber glow that appeared to originate from an indeterminate source. Deciding it was time to depart, as I pivoted towards the stairs, I discerned a transformation in the hallway. The doors were arranged differently, and the path I had trodden seemed unfamiliar. My flashlight commenced a faltering, waning glow. The humming sound intensified, evolving into what might have been distant conversations in an inscrutable tongue. The wallpaper patterns persisted in their languid dance, morphing into countenances that observed me with serene curiosity. Every mirror I passed reflected my visage at varying ages, sometimes youthful, sometimes aged, yet perpetually bearing the same knowing grin I did not wear in reality. I found myself in a circular chamber I had overlooked, featuring windows overlooking diverse vistas. Instead of revealing the neighboring forest, each window displayed a distinct scene. A flourishing summer garden, a snow-laden landscape, a misty dawn, and a star-studded night. The scenes shifted and transmuted when I averted my gaze, akin to reticent performers awaiting the audience to look away. My timepiece had ceased its ticking, yet the quality of light hinted that hours had elapsed since my ingress into the mansion. The exit remained elusive, each endeavor to retrace my steps leading to fresh, uncharted chambers. The mansion seemed to unveil itself gradually to me, divulging its secrets at its own pace. I realized I was no longer seeking an escape, but rather permitting myself to be guided further into its enigmas. The humming had transfigured into a gentle lullaby, familiar yet eluding identification. The atmosphere grew warm and snug, redolent with the scent of antiquated books and timbered furnishings. Each stride felt more weightless than the preceding one, as if gravity itself had become negotiable. The demarcations between walls, floor, and ceiling began to blur, crafting spaces that mirrored the dream logic of the mansion. In what could have been the attic or perhaps the cellar, cardinal directions had forfeited all significance. I stumbled upon a room brimming with hourglasses of diverse sizes. The sand within each ebbed at distinct paces, some flowing upwards rather than downwards. My reflection in a nearby mirror portrayed me observing myself from the threshold, engendering an infinite loop of observer and observed. As night descended in entirety, the mansion's interior commenced glowing with a soft, opalescent luminescence. The walls pulsed gently with a radiance that appeared to emanate from the very essence of the edifice. It dawned on me then that I had become intertwined with the mansion's narrative, an additional chapter in its limitless anthology of legends. The mansion had chosen me, as it had chosen others before, to witness its eternal waltz between reality and reverie. I harbored no trepidation, solely an ineffable sense of serenity and belonging. The mansion had never been forsaken. It had merely been waiting for the right visitor, the right instant, the right convergence of time and space. Settling into an antique armchair that seemed crafted specifically for me, I grinned, cognizant that I had at last discovered what I had perpetually sought. A realm where enigma and tranquility coalesced in flawless accord. The rain persisted in its gentle percussion against the windows, now seeming to synchronize with the cadence of my respiration. The mansion's heartbeat harmonized with my own, and I realized that here, in this interstice between moments, I had unearthed my genuine abode. The cameras and gear I had carried languished forgotten in my satchel, for no photograph could encapsulate the reality I now inhabited. Time elapsed differently here, or perhaps it did not elapse at all. The mansion enfolded me in its tender embrace, imparting its secrets through whispers and shadows, reflections and reminiscences that might or might not have been my own. And as night deepened, I comprehended that certain enigmas are not meant to be solved, but rather encountered, lived, and cherished in their unblemished uncertainty.